No game until Monday for the Bills, so today no practice as well, but the Bills will officially get going tomorrow. Then we'll get our first injury reports and the first official practice of the week. Don't worry, though, we're going to still hear from Sal Capaccio later on in the show today at 5 p.m. Some other notes in football. The Bengals make the trade yesterday, and today they announced Joe Flacco is going to start at quarterback against Green Bay. Flacco did actually beat Green Bay earlier this year with Cleveland. The Giants have ruled out wide receiver Darius Slayton for Thursday night against Philadelphia. Then some QB injuries. Kyler Murray not practicing today due to a foot issue, but is considered day-to-day, while Lamar Jackson, he misses his fourth straight practice with a hamstring injury. Owen Power on the ice again this morning for the Sabres. He was out of his non-contact jersey as signs begin to point to him being ready for tomorrow night's opener at home against the Rangers. And then ahead of that opener, stay tuned. Sabres forward Peyton Krebs is going to join the show in just about an hour at 4 p.m. Staying with the NHL, we've got 4 more games tonight. Toronto, they host Montreal at 7. 7:30, the Bruins, they are in Washington versus the Capitals. Then 2 games at 10. Calgary at Edmonton, and the Kings, they have a back-to-back. They are traveling to Las Vegas to take on the Golden Knights. And in baseball, starting in just a few minutes, our first game of the afternoon, Tigers host Seattle. Just after 5, the Cubs have Milwaukee in town at 7. The Yankees host Toronto, and the Night's going to wrap up with Phillies in L.A. versus the Dodgers. That game getting going just after 9 o'clock. The teams that can advance with a win today, Seattle, Milwaukee, Toronto, and Los Angeles. And then Sports Talk on WGR is presented by Paramount Plus. You can't count on much, but you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. Watch your local NFL game live every Sunday, all season long. Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Schopp and the Bulldog.
Uh-oh. Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody?
Monday, Tuesday, hump day is halfway. It's Mike Schopp.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
And the Bulldog.
Hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on. I know you can hear me.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-hoo!
On WGR.
Hump day!
Sports Radio 550.
I guess that's right. Bulldog is not here today, sadly. Thanks to Paramount Plus for allowing us to talk about sports together. Glad to know that this would not be possible without, them. Actually, so I do this a lot now. This is probably bad. If anybody wants to call a meeting here and tell me it's bad, I would have to go to it. But a lot, sort of the bit is, has the show ever sounded older? And I'll keep this short because I do want to, do I need to say it? Hopefully you would expect this from me. Talk about the Bills and their game against Atlanta, who they've never before played. So that'll be cool. The thing was, so I'm now in the habit, and it might be a bad one, of listening to talk. So it could be sports, it could be a different podcast, whatever it is I'm feeling. It's got to be one that I have already heard or don't need to be paying too close attention to because the point is to fall asleep. I'm doing this now pretty much most nights. I'm going to bed too late and I'm turning on something. I'm turning on somebody talking, and hopefully it's the kind of thing, and it usually is. If I do it right, by the way, I should put the timer on so that I don't wake up 3-4 hours later and it's still going. You probably don't want that. But one podcast or stream I recently found, it's a podcast, I guess, is just like old sporting events, just like I like to watch when I'm sleeping on the couch for whatever reason. I'd be putting on, I still do this once in a while, it's just not as often, which is good. Put on YouTube and put some old game on. And the announcers are pretty much everything. The voice is everything. I already know who won. It's a game from the 80s or something. I don't need to pay attention to it. I just like how it sounds. And so there's this one podcast of these old radio broadcasts, and I ended up last night on one it was an NFL game between the Patriots and the Houston Oilers, 1978. I'm like, okay, so this will do because I'm going to fall asleep and I can, if I care, look up who won the game. And I wake up at a certain point and Gino Cappelletti, who was a great Patriots player back in the AFL, kind of an icon in New England, I would say, Patriots legend, is one of the announcers for this game, and it's halftime, and I just happened to be awake for it, and he's talking about, what happened in the first half. The Patriots had a 23-0 lead in this game. They would lose. How about that? I kind of thought, now I started to care about this game as it got to be like 4:30 in the morning. Really healthy stuff. And I started to care about it and thought, like, there's no way they lose this game. 47 years ago, right? Like, there's no way they lose this game. I felt like I would know about it had they lost the game. But anyway, they do. That's not the point. The point is, so here's Gino Cappelletti at halftime. How do we do it? We host the Bills broadcasts. Like, how do we do it? We have Nate, or we have Sal, or we have Joe, or somebody, like, they come in and they read the scores and they have a conversation about the first half, and there's a bunch of commercials, and then halftime is pretty short. They go to the third. It's probably shorter now than it used to be. And they go on to the third quarter. This guy, 1978, did the Bills do this? Did everybody do this? He's like, okay, the score is 23-7. Here are some stats, and now we're going to take calls. He's taking calls at halftime of the game, which, again, I wonder, like, was that common or was that unique? What was that? So this is really interesting to me, having been in sports talk for like almost 30 years now. He gets two calls. It never works. Like, one call gets in and they're talking over each other. We have that. But then, like, then it's a dial tone, and then, the caller's not there. He doesn't know names. He did mention an area code at one point to identify, like, maybe the person on the other end of the line would know it was them because he mentioned their area code. Like, it's just sort of completely, I don't want to be mean about it. I don't mean to be mean, but like sort of caveman level talk radio. We don't have a screener or producer. Maybe we do, but I don't know your name. Just go. And there's always like a pause. It's the worst, right? When you're listening and you hear this from a caller and a host, it's like the worst, right? Because they don't know when it's their turn to talk, and they're like, how's it going? Like, you just sort of the nails on the chalkboard, especially if you're me, having been doing this for so long. Anyway, two callers get through to Gino Cappelletti at halftime of this Patriots game in 1978. And here are the two questions. Which, this is not a judgment on the callers or the fans. I'm actually not doing that. This is not that. It's just interesting, like, what they called in to ask about. There might have been 50 other people, probably not, 50 other people waiting to go next. We don't know what they were going to ask about. We've got two that get through. The first caller is, actually, you know what? I'm going to go second. I'm going to go with the second one first, because the first one makes for an interesting point. The second guy through, after, like, somebody hangs up, and it doesn't work, and the guy's sort of like not sure what to do. The second caller's question is, when the Patriots make the Super Bowl, I'm a season ticket holder, can I buy tickets? Right? Like, so here's a guy, he's like, I'm not feeling well today, so I'm not at the stadium. I'm a season ticket holder. Because he's like insistent that they will make it. By the way, narrator, they don't. When they make the Super Bowl, can I, as a season ticket holder, buy tickets? And Cappelletti seems to know the answer to that question, which is interesting. Like, if you called, maybe he does, if you called Eric Wood at halftime on Sunday and had asked him, like, just quick question, Eric, can I buy, how many tickets do I get for the Super Bowl? He might not know. If you called me right now, I'd have no idea what the answer to that is. I feel like, call the Bills. This guy calls the broadcast and wants to know how many tickets he gets for the Super Bowl, and Cappelletti seems to know the answer. He says something, he answers the question. The first guy's question is, and they're talking over each other, the guy, like, who's ever called a radio show by the year 1978? Like, how do you even do it? So the guy's question is, who calls the plays? for the Patriots? Who calls the plays? And, what a great question. In a time when you did not have any access you could possibly have imagined to answers to questions like that, here's somebody that loves the team and has probably, I guess, no other way of finding out who calls the plays for my team. You could, maybe it'd be in the paper, maybe it would come up at a press conference, maybe it wouldn't. And there are 2 of those a week. And there's no mechanism for scrutinizing it, for discussing it. So different. The question is, who calls the plays? And I just loved it. And by the way, the announcer also knew the answer to that question. He gave him a business answer. Like the head coach gets, the feed from upstairs right beside me. I've got 2 guys with headsets, and they're calling down to the quarterback can change the play just like it is now. I think it's mostly just like it is now. But the caller didn't know. Like, fans might not have known answers to questions like that. Who calls the plays for my team? So here, back to the finally present day, 2025. We know everything, almost everything we could want to know. And we have each other every day to bounce off, ideas about. And I think, enough with the 1978 Patriots for now. I think we're at a point, and maybe we've been here, but it might have taken the Bills to lose a game where I feel like for the last couple of days, people's questions about them or concerns about them are now okay to bring up because you might feel that you sound a little nuts if you're questioning how good Trey White is or how good the receiving core is when the Bills are undefeated. Not everybody, people are pretty self-aware, and they don't necessarily want to go into their office being the guy that's complaining about their undefeated NFL team. I mean, I could respect that, but they lost. So now maybe we can ask these questions. The last 2 days in here have absolutely been this. What about the secondary? What about the run defense? What about the receivers? Do they have enough? How do you feel? And maybe how is it different, if you want to call me and, have thought about this, how is it different from last year or the year before that or any year in the last 6, right? We're going to start at 2019, I guess. 19, I'm not going to 17. 19 is they're coming. I mean, they won a few games and made the playoffs and lost to Houston, and maybe this is going to be something. 20 is they're on their way to the AFC Championship. They're dominant. So 5+ years. I think for me, it's pretty similar to how it has been for the last couple of years at least. Certainly last year. I think right now and last year are twins. They were 3-2 last year after 5 games, not 4-1. It was Baltimore and Houston, back-to-back road losses. But I think it's very similar to then. And I don't know what last year in the end does to make you feel better. Maybe nothing. Maybe worse. Because there was so much to like last year. Last year, the story of last year was the Chiefs' incredible run of close nonsense wins that kept the Bills at arm's length for the 1 seed the whole year. And the Bills go to week 18, their 17th game, at 13-3 without a chance at the 1. And that was just, the luck. They even beat Kansas City, and that still happened. So that was what last year was. But I feel like last year, and maybe you remember this better than I do, maybe we talked last year at this time when the Bills were 3-2 and Josh Allen had completed 9 passes in a loss to the Texans. What are they at receiver? Who's Mac Hollins? Rookie Keon Coleman. Second-year Kincaid, not doing much. What's James Cook even at this point a year ago? Like, not that much. He goes on to have like almost pretty much a record season. But I think I still would have said felt, if I didn't say it, mostly how I feel right now about them, which is they'll probably win the division easily. This right now, because of New England's win, that's a little bit, I'm not going quite that far this year on the AFC East. But, they're in great shape. They're the heavy favorite to do it. Last year, maybe he was even a bigger favorite. I mean, May was a rookie. It was Aaron Rodgers with the Jets. Miami's Miami. Anyway, so you had that. That's the same. You had an offense that mostly could really score, but still had a lot of fans questioning just how solid it was. I would say, like mid-season last year, that's where I think a lot of us were. And then I don't know if it's the secondary, but they'd lost Hyde and Poyer. That was new last year. And this year you have, I think real questions about what they are, in the secondary. And this year so far, it's been more their run defense getting gashed and their pass defense being fine until this game against New England, which it kind of went the other way. So how good do you feel is all I've been really driving at for the last 15 minutes. How about that? You got to get to 4 hours, people. You got to get there. You can't just blurt out the question and sit there for the whole time. 803-0550 is the number. Let's go to Adam here. Hi, Adam.
Hey, Mike, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I think, and rightfully so, Bobby Babbitt's is getting a lot of, slack for how the defense is performing. But I really feel like he's coaching and play calling with, one hand tied behind his back with all the injuries, the suspensions. And I don't really hear enough criticism of Joe Brady. And, we've seen it with the Dolphins game and the Saints game. The offense just doesn't look right. It's very vanilla. And I hate when I constantly hear, we don't want to show things too early in the season, because anybody that's ever played football or coached football knows you spend the whole week game planning, and then 2 drives into the game, you rip up your game plan and you have to adapt on the fly. So, saying all that, you have the ultimate ace in the hole in Josh Allen. Why do we need to hold anything back on a week-to-week basis?
I'm not sure they do.
That's just the criticism that I hear.
Yeah.
When you see you even hear Collinsworth say it on the telecast. When they're in shotgun, most of the time they're going to pass it. When they're under center, most of the time they're going to run it. Why be so predictable?
Well, that's not the same thing, is it? I mean, that's not necessarily holding back whatever you were saying before. That being predictable is not just sort of not giving your best, right? I mean, that's.
I have heard Brown and Tasker, they say you don't want to show things too early in the season.
Yeah.
And that might be something that Brady is doing, I guess, is my point.
Well,
and I guess my point out of that is why.
Yeah. It's interesting to think about. I think there could be merit to you're showing tendencies and you're almost always going to win. And even this game was a very winnable game. You're almost always going to win. There's a logical basis for showing certain tendencies that you might expect to break later on, and that could very much be to your advantage. Predictable isn't good, but that might be sort of the 3D chess kind of thing that New England, I think, talking to Eric over the years, that was a little bit their brand, just we're so much better than you. However that is, we're so much better than you that we can afford that. And I don't think that's bad. I just don't know that it's true. You might be hearing criticism. I mean, who's making the point? Maybe they know, maybe they don't. I think the Bills have spoiled us so much that when they lose or when they only score 20 points in a game, that we're maybe confused by it. How did that happen? And sometimes, it's bounces. They had 3 turnovers in the game. There's how good the other team is. I mean, there could be different reasons for it, but I don't know that they hold things back. I don't think I would hate it if they did. But But is it going to, like Allen running left on sneaks? They're just going to do it one way the whole year? Because that I think is a problem. Let's go to Michael next. Hi, Michael.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I just, back to what you asked earlier, Patriots game reminded me of when they were going through the struggle with Dorsey, when nobody could get open down the field. They didn't have a deep threat, and Cook in the running game wasn't going, and it was all Josh. And I felt like that's what that felt like on Monday. But like you said, it's so few and far between these types of losses. But to add to the other, caller prior, I kind of agree. I think at times they are very predictable. They always play too deep shell. They don't seem to adapt when they're supposed to. Again, nitpicking because they've been so good for so long. I just feel like it felt like Dorsey, and they just couldn't get off, and Josh had to do everything, and he was pressing. And give New England credit. I mean, great against the run, probably one of the better teams in the conference, maybe even in the league. And at corner, they're good. They had Kincaid all night, and they stopped going to him for some reason. And in the second half, they come out guns blazing, sort of up-tempo offense, and they score. And then all of a sudden, it's back to let's try. So if you ask McDermott, I think he loves this type of football. And it's, all three phases, as he likes to say. But when you don't have the run, and Josh isn't getting off, that's what you're going to get.
I thought in the beginning of the third quarter Sunday night, it's the touchdown, but I think it was also a couple of other plays, if I remember right. One thing they did there is throw the ball laterally, which is something, every game is different. This is something they were criticized for in the past, that there's nothing down the field. But the touchdown to Samuel is really, really smart. In motion, and Allen sort of gives him the sign back the other way, and it's kind of over before the snap. Nobody's out there with Samuel. So, that's Allen. That's got to be Brady too. That's good stuff. And, there should be those adjustments as you come out of the locker room. But in the end, they couldn't do enough right. So there goes that game. And it makes the season a lot different, doesn't it? Doesn't losing one game in the division at home to a team that you're not sure is bad change the attitude of the whole thing? Like, it does for me. I don't think New England is so good that they're going to, just beat everybody the way the Bills do. And they have an easy schedule, and I still don't think that'll happen. But they should come out on the plus side, and they could make the division, really where you have to work for it, which amazingly is a thing that has not been true every one of these years. Last year, the Bills clinched, I think, on December 1st. Here's Justin next. Hi, Justin.
Hey, how are you today?
Good, thank you.
Good. I just want to say, before I get into my topic, the first day I listened to you guys' show was the Cardell Jones "We Came to Play Football" tweet. That was the first day I listened to the show. And I've been a daily listener ever since.
All right.
Nonetheless, there's always talk about how we pick late in the draft. There's not as much talent late, or the cap. The Eagles have cap until 2030 that they're paying out, and everything. Like all these excuses. But it's like the Eagles also have 2 Super Bowl wins. Kansas City is picking late in the draft every year. They have Super Bowl wins. So like, at what point is Bean gonna, muster it up and go to the top of the draft? I would have rather traded however many first-round picks it took in the future to have gotten Sauce Gardner over, Kyer Elam. So it's like we don't have many holes on the team, so why don't we just ante up and put all of our chips toward whatever hole that we do have, and then use those layer picks to fill out some special teams players or whatever the case may be. But it's like moving back, theoretically, you're just moving, further down the board. The players get worse as the board continues to tick. So, trading back to get Keon Coleman. I love Keon Coleman. I think he's a great guy. I think, from what I know about him. But, it just doesn't make sense to me. Maybe you can shed more light on it.
Unfortunately for you, Justin, I am not your guy on this. I have to say, if you're listening all the time, this is something I want people to know about me. Is like, I'm totally trade back guy, because you're making a very important false assumption that the guys drafted earlier are necessarily better. And just look at any draft. You can pick out, it does happen, you can pick out Sauce Gardner, but you can also find years where whoever the top cornerback isn't Sauce Gardner. and picking Trey White. How about that? Let's just do that easily. And what was Trey White in that draft? Was he not as good as anybody else at his position in that draft? He was. So, yeah, I am team. I want to be the captain of team. I don't know what's going to happen in the draft, and I'm going to give myself as many bullets as I can. Now, the results are not great, right? I mean, if you look at, we just wanted to focus on the Bills drafting. You can't say that it's really great. It's Josh Allen. I mean, Trey White is 8 years ago. There were good players that year, but where are the wins? You know, you have a couple of late round wins, and anybody who gives you anything from Saturday picks is probably necessarily a win. Benford is better than just anybody, but still, like, you'd want better than what's happened, I think, in the overall. Thanks, Justin. Quick break, and then we'll talk some more. 803-0550. Today, Peyton Krebs of the Sabres, opening night tomorrow. Sal Capaccio, and on the Falcons, Joe Patrick, 92.9 The Fan in Atlanta. I'm Mike Schopp. Bulldog is out today. This is WGR. Just go to my, look, this won't be hard. Just search it. Just like, hello, phone, where is Mighty Ducks Game Changers? Like Disney Plus. Great. Look how easy that was. Go to Disney Plus, not there. Only the trailer.
Oh, boy.
I don't know.
Yeah.
All the other Mighty Ducks things are there. The show has never sounded older.
Yeah,
the show has
I know.
The best. Now I'm going to get defensive. Just point out that my daughter is 13. All right. I mean, I can't be that old if I'm not Larry King. Now the show really sounds old. Who's that? Seattle. Has the show ever sounded older? Seattle in the NBA Finals.
F-.
I like this point. F- to me seems like just, like a cartoon.
Right.
Not a real.
Yeah,
F is the lowest.
Yeah, it was like Bugs Bunny the teacher. Like, what are we doing here?
F-.
The show ever sounded older.
The Bengals food.
See, kids, Bugs Bunny was a cartoon character. I did see the Scouts play in Buffalo. Yeah, I saw a Kansas City Scouts game. As the show ever sounded older.
Well, I'm going to be mad about this, but I'm not going to sacrifice my jersey number for it. Matthew Golden, that's taking it pretty seriously. So I went through thinking about numbers.
I think I like 22 on a wide receiver.
Bob Hayes.
Yeah, works.
Hey, can you think of another one?
No. That's why I like it.
Has the show ever sounded older?
To me, 22 doesn't strike me. Well, I mean, certainly Bob Hayes. It does not strike me as a slow number. It's one of the. He was like an Olympic 100-yard dash champion.
That was his brand.
Has the show ever sounded older?
I think. And that because 24-16, 192. The show has never sounded older than that as a pitching stat line for a season. 24-16,
right.
192, 41 starts, 20
40 decisions.
40 decisions, 29 complete games. How many leads the league now? 5?
3, 5? Yeah, I don't know. It's so rare.
The word, Parker. The throw, if you don't know it, 79 All-Star game. The throw from right field in the Kingdome. The Kingdome is the show ever sounded older than the Kingdome reference. Bowling math, like front to back bowling math.
No, never.
Did you ever have to write it down?
Yes.
And figure out the math with a pencil?
Yes.
The show has never sounded older.
Yes.
It's about to sound older when I get to the next thing.
I think I knew how to do that at one time in my life, but I have long forgotten.
The game. They just stole the game, right? If you think about that, how that term is used in other sports, how is it? It's Dominic Hasek, Has the show ever sounded older? Like, it's just you get outshot badly, but you still win. And you win in that comparison, you score late to win, right? You're down 2-0 with 3 minutes left. It's like the 07 team maybe is a better Sabres. You stole the game. They did a lot of that. Hear me sing the Mary Tyler Moore Show theme today. But I did do that.
Right.
As the pre-show ever sounded older.
I dropped a little nugget on Mike that I found very interesting. Yesterday, a gentleman by the name of Sonny Curtis passed away. And it's not a name that I was really familiar with at all, but I'm a huge Clash fan. And this is the man who wrote the song I Fought the Law, which is a very famous song that was originally made famous by a band called the Bobby Fuller Four. That's all I ever knew about it, other than that the Clash covered it then in the 70s, is that the Bobby Fuller Four recorded and made famous I Fought the Law. I never knew who the songwriter was. It turns out it was this man, Sonny Curtis, who was an original member of Buddy Holly and the Crickets. Like, so original that before Buddy Holly got famous, he was one of Buddy's sidemen, but had left by the time they became famous and when Buddy Holly passed away. Anyway, Sonny Curtis, in addition to having this tangential relationship to The Clash, my favorite band of all time, also wrote the Mary Tyler Moore theme song and sang it. Like on the show, like that was him singing that song on the show. All those, it's like one of the, well, I mean, as the show ever sounded older, it's the Mary Tyler Moore show. It's one of my favorite TV show theme songs ever. And the same guy who wrote this legendary song, I Fought the Law, also wrote this legendary TV theme, and I had no idea. Sonny Curtis passed away at 88.
It's amazing.
Yesterday. Yeah, I thought so. I don't even know. I think it came up because an obit for him came up in my Twitter feed when I got here and reminded me of it. I had wanted in a small
the video. 1,000 people are watching it at one time. 8 people have clicked the like button, and that's offensive. In that community, no. Just please go out of your way if you must, and just click on the thumbs up. Do we have the thumbs up? We do. Yeah, all right. Please click the like button.
Yeah.
It helps to grow. I believe it helps to grow the program.
Does it tell
the algorithms like it when you get more likes?
Does it reveal the identity of the person clicking the like?
Not on YouTube.
Okay, I'm going to click it then.
It's like the first sign of, oh man, the receivers weren't super good. You know, we bring back this conversation where for 4 weeks, I don't think we're having that chat. I think it's the context of the game and maybe some game plan stuff that I think the Bills could have done more to attack the Patriots where they were more vulnerable in the middle of the field.
Joe Marino, regular guest on the morning show today. If you missed it, you want to hear more from Joe, G.I. Joe, Grand Island native, go to, or former resident at least, go to the Odyssey app and check it out. It was a big one from when I worked at the newspaper. Is he a native or is he a former resident? Was he born here or did he just live here? And actually with Joe, I'm not 100% sure as I think about him. Anyway, Bills and Falcons Monday night. The Bills and Falcons have they played any important games ever? The Falcons might be the least relevant team to Bills history than any other. Who is even Carolina, who the Bills play in 2 weeks, or 2 weeks from Sunday. It has McDermott and Bean, like the Carolina connection there. But Atlanta, I mean, there are a couple games. I know this stuff. I mean, I can recount certain of those games, but not really anything that important. And I don't know if this one is, but I think it's interesting. Atlanta, which was on bye last week, is kind of, there's talent with the Falcons, both sides. Big talent. Look at Bijan Robinson. We'll see Michael Penix. What is Drake London? He's been great. The edge rushers they drafted this year, a big, and I don't think good trade, but they made a big move to draft 2 in the first round. So there's stuff with Atlanta. We'll talk about the Falcons in more detail in a couple of hours. Here's Eric next. Hi, Eric.
How you doing?
Good.
So, I went to the game, so I was paying attention to the defense in the first half. I think they did a fantastic job. We held them to 3 points, and then another field goal, and then we fell apart in the second half of the game because the offense just would not give the defense a breather. I mean, the play calling was horrible, to say that at least. And other than that, the defense, they got shredded. I mean, Trey Wright got shredded in the second half. And, I mean, we know what he is. He's an older guy. He can't keep up for a whole game when he's on the field for the majority of the time.
What do you suggest they do about it?
Well, they got looking into maybe cutting his game time down so his legs stay fresh.
Well, I mean, their first-round pick was supposed to probably start over him and has been hurt since August. And the other guy for that, Strong, hurt his neck and went to IR immediately, so maybe easier said than done. Thanks, Eric. Let's go to Rob next. Hi, Rob. Rob, you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Mike?
good.
Hey, I wanted to piggyback up what you said before the break, which was, when can the draft picks ever just feel like a win? And if you recall, Brandon Beane got national attention for, getting into that dispute with the talk show hosts about why aren't we drafting more offense? And Brandon Beane's retort was, we got Josh Allen. Well, I have a retort back to that.
Not sure that's what he said.
Drafting a lot of defense for quite a while, it feels like, with the exception of Keon Coleman. And it doesn't feel like our defense has gotten ever gotten better. And then as soon as we get to the playoffs, it just gets aggressively exposed. I understand we're playing better teams in the playoffs, but it just still gets exposed. And when the regular season, we rely so much on turnovers. And if we don't get those turnovers, and we lost the turnover battle on Sunday, and I was there as well, but it just seems like we're not getting those wins on defense. And I think at this point, we might as well just focus solely on, a one-headed spear with Josh Allen and just try to punch the lights out and get as much offense draft picks as we can.
Yeah, maybe that'll happen next year, and that's been the discourse about this for a long time, is the continuing efforts by the Bills to pour draft capital into really front seven. I mean, Hairston was picked, even Strong, but, defense, just make it easier. And for me, this is, like I've said a lot, I think this is kind of like the last year where that's okay if they don't get what they need in the playoffs again, which is, important stops. And this is combined with big free agent moves, Von Miller, Bosa, Hoyt and Ogunjobi coming back. Like, it really does, under Sean McDermott, it really does need to be enough. It's already been a questionable strategy, I agree, versus pouring money into speed and weapons. And it doesn't have to be everything. It just has had to be more, I want to say. But this is absolutely a year where the Bills have doubled down on this by how they drafted and spent free agent money. And so it's that much more, I think, called for to analyze how it goes. Let's go to Joe next. Hi, Joe. Joe?
Hey, how you doing, Mike?
Good, fine, thanks.
Hey, thanks. Kind of piggybacking off the last guy and what you were talking about, it seems that they have come into the last two seasons, especially with the Diggs cut and whatever that does to the cap, they've made a very poignant decision to get who they have, like bringing Trey back. It's like when they brought back Poyer and things of that nature. It's kind of like, okay, we love them guys, and you're kind of retreading some old guys. I'm feeling like they brought Trey back, not necessarily to start. And now that he's starting, they're going into these games understanding their weaknesses and the way that they're running their defensive scheme. It's bend but don't break on steroids now. And so I don't think that they're probably necessarily thinking they're going to be the best defense, but how can we play enough to give the offense the chance to outscore like they've been doing, 30 to 35 points a game. And so I hope that when the new guy comes back, that the young man, him with Benford on the other side, will kind of, shore up some things, and the two safeties are just, take a full season to play together and get better.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about a lot of that. And I don't really want to blame the Bills for it because they are down horses, if you will. And Hairston is a big one. I worry about what Hairston is a good enough bet. I mean, he was not really a reach or anything. It's a late first-round pick. So you're not getting, you think, like an all-time great necessarily. But again, like I mentioned before to someone else, Trey White worked out very well as this. So we'll see. But it's just been so long. Like, he's still not able to even have the practice window opened. So now I'm going to be to week 8. I mean, I guess I shouldn't. Should I rule out that he plays in this game? I feel like I want to. But if he doesn't, then it's week 8 before there's any chance of it. And that's kind of like the halfway point of the season. And how much has he had in terms of reps? Wouldn't you need time to sort of get your body right after an injury like this? I just hope that it isn't a lost year. Because if it's a lost year for Hairston, it could be a lost year for them. I mean, yes, I don't think Trey White was brought in to start every week. What they do, and I think he is an example of this, is they bring in safe, quote, safe assets before the draft, around the draft, and have them in place so that if the draft doesn't fall a certain way, they're not, standing there naked at the position. Like you've seen them do that at running back, and here's a corner. Like, it makes sense. It seems like it's a good idea. But that isn't to say, like, this player should be a weekly starter. Like, we don't really want that. What they wanted was for Hairston to do that. And maybe he'll get there. I mean, someday he probably will. But, fans too, and I don't think this is bad, it makes sense, have Elam, like, fresh in their minds. And maybe you're sort of like, it's easy to forget about Hairston. We'll see what happens. I mean, it was a big loss to lose him like they did. And now they're 5 games in. This will be 6. The bye week is next. And you're almost to November. You're almost to the halfway point of the season without really getting him to any point, getting him anywhere. So maybe a lot rides on him. Let's go to Josh next. Hi, Josh.
Hey, Schopp. Happy Hump Day.
Hello.
A couple of moves they didn't make, and one they did. I'm scratching my head.
Okay.
I think that we've needed help at safety going back 2 years to having DeMar Hamlin on the team. Jabril Peppers was out there basically for free. Would have been a very shrewd move that Bean didn't have to pay anything besides vet minimum. C.J. Gardner-Johnson was out there. I mean, those guys were good enough for both the Steelers and the Ravens to pick them up. And then we re-signed Balin Spector. Like, it just – that move particularly speaks to we're very just looking down the barrel and don't want to look across the league. Like, it's the old adage, you just have to know McDermott's defense and have played in it for 5 years to possibly step on the field for us. And those guys, we're having issues at linebacker too. They're both drop-down safeties. They could help in the run game, help in the nickel. Taron Johnson hasn't been amazing. I just think they would have been amazing moves, and it more just speaks to, like, rigidity and not wanting to step out to make that move that we're going to need to get over the hump, especially on D. We need the help right now.
Yeah, you might be right. I think there's a certain allure to the name brands, and you're naming guys that a lot of football fans can name that don't have to be really much of value anymore. Rasul Douglas gave the Bills half a season, and then last year, not as much. And he was a known commodity, and he did okay. They did make that move, and they got something out of it, but it was short-lived. And even Amari Cooper could be thought of this way. These are trade deadline moves, but that's the same thing, basically. Like, sign these guys along the way. If you want to say that the points the caller made about the system and familiarity and that stuff, a lot of people say it, and I'm not going to argue with you. Like, I don't know that's wrong. But it's also not right to say they haven't done anything. Like, Mike Edwards was somebody that they brought in who had some pedigree, and he couldn't get on the field for them, which, you could, I guess, maybe say the same thing there, but he hasn't been successful elsewhere. So, yeah, maybe the truth is in the middle here. Like, they could be more open to certain types when it comes to this, but I feel like the Bills have made quite an effort to beef up, to spend, defensively especially, to get to the top. And they could still do it. It's interesting, like, I sort of soft pedaled into this very broad discussion about how we feel about them. And man, a lot of you are ready to go on this or that, on the roster that you don't like. And I think, mostly, not that these aren't good points, because they are, I think, but I think we're very on edge about this. And I also think that that's pretty normal, especially for a community that has just, we've never made it all the way. And everybody knows how good Allen is. He's in every third commercial. He's won the MVP now. He's super famous and great. And it just feels like, it would feel like more of a wasted experience if they can't win it with him. But, maybe they will. I'm certainly on board with the idea, not just wanting it, but believing it could happen. I mean, they're still right among the top favorites, as I'm sure you know. Peyton Krebs of the Sabres coming up in less than 20 minutes. Sal Capaccio later. Bulldog is off today. This is Mike Schopp on WGR.
We've been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day alright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over, it's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of life. And now it's about to leave. Oh, roller coaster.
If you are ready, or at least you think you're ready to take your game day to the next level, enter online at WGR550.com for a chance to win a $300 tailgate tray certificate from Alibaba Kebab to feed 12 football fans. Each Friday, a winner will be announced during Football Friday with Schopp and the Bulldog. That's us. Fire up your taste buds at any of their 3 locations. Not Bulldog and I don't have 3 locations. Alibaba Kebab must have 3 locations. Sounds good to me. Chris is off today. Peyton Krebs coming up. Sabres open tomorrow night. Game is sold out, which is good. Then Sal later. Let's go to Mario next. Hi, Mario. Go ahead.
Hey, Mike. How you doing?
Good.
Hey, they deserve to give you a raise because I think you're being the most realistic out about any of the talk show hosts today about the team.
Baby.
And you heard it from me first. No, you described me to a T. About my friends in Jacksonville thought I was insane, to put it lightly, when the team was 4-0 and I was going off about the complaints of the team. And then Monday morning came, they watched the Sunday night game, and they said, I think you might be onto something with the DBs and the lack of a pass rush and the receivers, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to talk. I'm embarrassed to say I actually called in today as well to Brownie and Tasker's show. And Steve, again, disagreed about the need for a receiver, the need to stretch the ball downfield, what have you. And he looked at the successes of last year and how much they put up last year in the offense and how productive it was. But, for all the success, if you want to look at the success from last year, then you absolutely also have to look at the failures of the team from last year. And I think that was a very big component as to why they failed to get the wins they needed to do, i.e. the Chiefs game and some of those other games. So I think we're allowed to have the fear that we have with this team because we've seen it not work before. And so we want to jump out ahead of it now. And Brandon Beane with his guys is eerily similar to me. It smells a little bit like, and I hate to say this, but Buddy Nix, when he was like, we like our guys. Outside of Allen and a few, I hate to say it, I don't think Beane has done the best job with drafting. So,
well, of course, that's what he's going to say. I mean, anybody's going to say that, and you can't expect him to not. I mean, I think Beane strikes really good chords most of the time when he's talking publicly. I don't think he sounds delusional. I think he's pretty honest. And, they're always going to talk about why they like who they have. So that's not surprising. I have a tough time trying to, I guess it's really about the talking about it. There are questions about the Bills. They have fewer questions than maybe any other team in the NFL. And you can deal with that any way you want. You can call multiple radio shows in the same day. Yikes, I would never admit that, but you could do that. Or you could just sort of be chill about it. And there's no wrong way to do it. For me, I think there are, just like last year, there are these questions. It will come down to the playoffs, and it's just pretty much impossible to know what that's going to be. I mean, last year they lose the pass to Kincaid that gets dropped. Everything's behind the line of scrimmage, and it was kind of easy for people who were worried about the pass catchers, their talent on offense. It was right there where you could say, this is why they got beat. They scored 29 points in Arrowhead Stadium. Pretty much, they set the franchise record for scoring, but nope, it wasn't good enough. You can do that. This is, I think, Beane's life, too, is how do I have the same level of success but avoid the one thing, and it's even maybe the one play that is the difference between making the Super Bowl and not. That's really what last year was. How do I get more on that one play? And what is that play going to be? No one knows. The Kincaid play is a crazy, maybe brilliant, crazy blitz, overload one side, Bills are flustered, Allen heaves a ball up, Could have been caught, incredibly, wasn't, and that's the season. How do you, as a general manager, plot to avoid that? I don't know how you do it. And this is where we're at right now. The Bills lose one game, and I'm thinking of a caller, I think Monday, who was like, yeah, I don't listen to you guys, but do you ever talk about how much longer was Sean McDermott? Like, guess what? Yes, we do have that conversation, and I got myself to a point in the summer where I said, I can't have another season end like that, where I feel like I'm playing against a mid-offense. I know Mahomes, but really the Chiefs were not good on offense last year, and I'm kind of getting torched in the game. And the premise with McDermott is to not have that happen. Like, that's his stock and trade. So am I going to have another season where I lose like that? And I decided, like, one more is the most I can handle. But what is it going to be? Is it going to be a blocked kick? Are the Bills going to rough the punter like their very generous recent opponents have done back-to-back weeks? How do you know? And if you don't know, you just sort of, I think maybe the healthiest attitude to have about it is just like, well, let's just see, right? I mean, that doesn't suit my purposes professionally at all, because my job is to talk about it every day. But they're probably going to be in that game again. I think they should be in that game again. If they don't make it that far, they don't make it to the second round, then something went really wrong. But they should, and what'll happen that night? Who knows? Think of the week 1 Ravens game as this, and the Ravens kind of do everything right, and then Derrick Henry fumbles for the first time in forever, and it gets away from them, and they lose. Like, how should Baltimore have avoided that? The GM, the coach, the organization, how should they have avoided that? I don't know. It happens. It's just like he fumbled. Should they have not signed him? Should he have not played? That's ridiculous. So it's a little bit disappointing to end up in this sort of soft space where, like, well, what do we even say then? But I don't know. Like, just sort of let's just roll with it. The deadline will come up, and we'll see if the Bills have something in mind for that, and they often do. Let's take a break. Peyton Krebs of the Sabres coming up after sports here on WGR. The Bills and Falcons have they played any important games ever? The Falcons might be the least relevant team to Bills history than any other. Who is even Carolina, who the Bills play in 2 weeks, or 2 weeks from Sunday. It has McDermott and Bean, like the Carolina connection there. But Atlanta, I mean, there are a couple games. I know this stuff. I mean, I can recount certain of those games, but not really anything that important. And I don't know if this one is, but I think it's interesting. Atlanta, which was on bye last week, is kind of, there's talent with the Falcons, both sides, big talent. Look at Bijan Robinson. We'll see Michael Penix. What is Drake London? He's been great. The edge rushers they drafted this year, a big, and I don't think good trade, but they made a big move to draft 2 in the first round. So there's stuff with Atlanta. We'll talk about the Falcons in more detail in a couple of hours. Here's Eric next. Hi, Eric.
How you doing?
Good.
So, and I went to the game, so I was paying attention to the defense in the first half. I think they did a fantastic job. We held them to 3 points, and then another field goal, and then we fell apart in the second half of the game because the offense just would not give the defense a breather. I mean, the play calling was horrible, to say that, at least. And other than that, the defense, they got shredded. I mean, Trey Wright got shredded in the second half. And, I mean, we know what he is. He's an older guy. He can't keep up for a whole game when he's on the field for the majority of the time.
What do you suggest they do about it?
Well, they got looking to maybe cutting his game time down so his legs stay fresh.
Well, I mean, their first-round pick was supposed to probably start over him and has been hurt since August. And the other guy for that, Strong, hurt his neck and went to IR immediately, so maybe easier said than done. Thanks, Eric. Let's go to Rob next. Hi, Rob. Rob, you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Mike?
good.
Hey. Hey, I wanted to piggyback up what you said before the break, which was when can the draft picks ever just feel like a win? And if you recall, Brandon Beane got national attention for, getting into that dispute with the talk show hosts about why aren't we drafting more offense? And Brandon Beane's retort was, we got Josh Allen. Well, I have a retort back to that.
Not sure that's what he said.
Drafting a lot of defense for quite a while, it feels like, with the exception of Keon Coleman. And it doesn't feel like our defense has gotten ever gotten better. And then as soon as we get to the playoffs, it just gets aggressively exposed. I understand we're playing better teams in the playoffs, but it just still gets exposed. And when the regular season, we rely so much on turnovers. And if we don't get those turnovers, and we lost the turnover battle on Sunday, and I was there as well, but it just seems like we're not getting those wins on defense. And I think at this point, we might as well just focus solely on, a one-headed spear with Josh Allen and just try to punch the lights out and get as much offense draft picks as we can.
Yeah, maybe that'll happen next year, and that's been the discourse about this for a long time, is the continuing efforts by the Bills to pour draft capital into really front seven. I mean, Hairston was picked, even strong, but, defense, just make it easier. And for me, this is, like I've said a lot, I think this is kind of like the last year where that's okay if they don't get what they need in the playoffs again, which is, important stops. And this is combined with big free agent moves, Von Miller, Bosa, Hoyt and Ogunjobi coming back. Like, it really does, under Sean McDermott, it really does need to be enough. It's already been a questionable strategy, I agree, versus pouring money into speed and weapons. And it doesn't have to be everything. It just has had to be more, I want to say. But this is absolutely a year where the Bills have doubled down on this by how they drafted and spent free agent money. And so it's that much more, I think, called for to analyze how it goes. Let's go to Joe next. Hi, Joe. Joe?
Hey, how you doing, Mike?
Good, fine, thanks.
Hey, thanks. Kind of piggybacking off the last guy, which you were talking about, it seems that they have come into the last two seasons, especially with the Diggs cut and whatever that does to the cap, they've made a very poignant decision to get who they have, like bringing Trey back. It's like when they brought back Poyer and things of that nature. It's kind of like, okay, we love them guys, and you're kind of retreading some old guys. I'm feeling like they brought Trey back, not necessarily to start. And now that he's starting, they're going into these games understanding their weaknesses and the way that they're running their defensive scheme. It's bend but don't break on steroids now. And so I don't think that they're probably necessarily thinking they're going to be the best defense, but how can we play enough to give the offense the chance to outscore like they've been doing, 30 to 35 points a game. And so I hope that when the new guy comes back, that the young man, him with Benford on the other side, will kind of, shore up some things, and the two safeties are just.
No Bills practice today with the team playing on Monday down in Atlanta. We'll get our first injury reports, though, tomorrow, along with the first official practice. But don't worry, we are still going to hear from Sal Capaccio later on in the show at 5 p.m. Around the rest of the league, the Bengals made the trade yesterday, and today they have announced Joe Flacco is going to start at quarterback against Green Bay. The Giants have ruled out wide receiver Darius Slayton for Thursday Night Football against Philadelphia, and then some QB injuries to keep an eye on. Kyler Murray not practicing today due to a foot issue. He is considered day today, while Lamar Jackson, he misses his fourth straight practice with a hamstring injury. Good news for the Sabres today. Head coach Lindy Ruff says both defensemen Owen Power and Matthias Samuelsson are expected to play in tomorrow night's opener against the New York Rangers. And then ahead of tomorrow night's opener, do stay tuned. It's coming up next. Sabres forward Peyton Krebs will join the show. Staying with the NHL, we do have 4 games tonight. Toronto hosts Montreal at 7. 7:30, Bruins are in Washington versus the Capitals. Then 2 games at 10, Calgary at Edmonton, and the Kings. They are on a back-to-back to start the season. They are going to travel to Las Vegas. While in baseball, just 1 game going on right now for the 4 games on the docket. Mariners currently up 1-0 on the Tigers in the 4th. We've also got just after 5, the Cubs have Milwaukee in town. At 7, the Yankees host Toronto, and then the night's going to wrap up with Phillies in L.A. versus the Dodgers just after 9. 9. Seattle, Milwaukee, Toronto, and LA are the teams that can advance with a win tonight. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
That puck is chopped out, and there's a race for a chance on Kolosov. Scores a shorthanded goal. Peyton Krebs. $2-0 Buffalo. 6:11 to go in the opening period.
Sabres forward Peyton Krebs in just a moment. Mike Schopp here. Bulldog is off today. I know Bulldog will be disappointed to miss this because he was looking forward to chatting with Krebs. Flacco, that thing, there's got to be a parallel, right? I'm thinking of, like, Kyle Orton doesn't work, doesn't have to be a Bills one. I mean, to get traded and then play immediately, maybe it's, you know who it is? It's Mayfield with the Rams, right? That's what happened with, maybe it was even less time, but for Flacco to start, like, day one pretty much is kind of insane, but they are desperate. I don't mind it. I'm sort of excited about it, for Chase and Higgins and maybe even Chase Brown and sort of in the fantasy space. Anyway, let's get to Peyton Krebs, our guest on the West Shore Hotline. Peyton, I'm Mike Schopp. Thanks for doing this.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. How do you feel here physically going into another season? Your 5th now with the Sabres. Do you think does it tend to be the case that, like, night one or going into night one is the best you feel all year physically, or does that maybe not always is that not always true?
Yeah, I think physically for sure. You're fired up. You got the adrenaline. You're in KeyBank. Crowd's getting you pumped. So, you always get the nervous jitters going in, and kind of everything you were feeling kind of goes away, and you're just ready to let it rip.
What's your way of maintaining, like, your strength and your stamina through the season? It seems like the schedule is insane, and I don't know if you think about this, maybe not, but like this year I think it's even crazier because there's that Olympic break later on and the season isn't more stretched out on the calendar. So how do you guys do it?
Yeah, this year, you're right. It's pretty much nonstop until Olympic break. So for me, it's just continuing to stretch each and every day. Little did you know, we're working out pretty much after every game too. Just maintaining the summer we built throughout the summer and trying to stay on top of it. So, just trying to stay healthy, stretch a lot, and then maintain the muscle you built throughout the summer.
Right. So that's what the summer is? I mean, there's got to be some departure from the work, but like the summer is for what? Building up that strength so you can make it through the year. Yeah,
exactly. I think during the season, I wouldn't say you're trying to get any gains. You're just trying to maintain what you built, and we're all strong at this time of the year, so just trying to keep that going so you're not getting injured.
I think that probably in all sports, when you're 0-0, everybody's hopeful. Everybody's optimistic. I got to think that that's true in your case and in the Sabres case. How genuine is it? Like, can you guys really see yourselves having a big year?
Yeah, 100%. I think, there's been a bunch of us, a few of us, I guess, that have been here for the last 5 years. And, we got a feeling in our stomachs this year that is exciting, and also a feeling of we don't want to, we want to break the playoff drought. So we're excited to do that. We got a lot of guys that are hungry, and I'm excited for that.
So what's it going to take, Peyton? Like, you've been here a while and you've been under Lindy Ruff now for a full season. What are the changes, I guess I'll put it that way, that the Sabres need to make this year?
Yeah, I think obviously we got to be consistent. That's the number one thing. And I think this year we came in with strength and conditioning was a big thing for us. To be consistent, you got to have that. For us, it's, grabbing, I'm just going to say it, grabbing our nuts and being willing to get in the dirty areas and do the work to allow ourselves to, not want to be played against. And that's a big thing for us. And like I said, just be consistent, have an identity, and we got all the talent to do it. That's no problem. I think it's, it's that time.
I think you can say that. Like when you talk to Paul after games, he can just erase it. He can edit it. But I think you're fine. We're live, but I think you're fine. How about your line at this point? I mean, right now Paul's given us the lines through practice every day. Fourth line with Malenstein and Danforth, I think I'm seeing. What do you think? Please correct me if I'm wrong about any of this. But what do you think your role is in that role?
Yeah, I think actually I was talking to Lindy today. I'm kind of at Swiss Army knife. Our line's got to be a direct line that when we get out there, we create momentum for the team. And I think we added Danforth this year, who was in Columbus before. He was absolutely terrible to play against, and those are the type of guys we want on our team. And obviously Malenstein, he's a heavy guy, likes to get in the corners and make some hits. So for us, obviously we want to help contribute offensively, but the big thing for us is, being a shutdown line and creating momentum for the team. So shift after shift, we can, score some goals.
What is, I think I know, at least in part, what is tough to play against? So I'm thinking maybe one thing would be the guy just never leaves you alone. Whoever it is, like whatever position you're playing, they're kind of always there, but there's more to it maybe?
Yeah, I think, in practice, there's always that guy that seems to just absolutely work and sucks going against because, every time you go in that corner, you're going to have to work to keep the puck. And when you consistently do that, each and every guy, that sucks to play against. And not only that, you're making hits, you're contributing the puck well. When you don't have the puck on your stick and you're just skating around, watching the other team fly around you, that's tough to play against. So we want to be that team, and it's exciting.
So, sellout crowd tomorrow night. I mean, you mentioned the playoff drought, and we all know all about it. I mean, I've been here since the 70s. I'm familiar with the history of all of this. Not all bad, but at least you should have good energy tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. We're excited. I think, like I said, I want to do it in Buffalo. I want to, make the playoffs, win a cup, and I'm more hungrier than ever to do it, so it's exciting.
Have you made yourself at home here? I mean, it's been a few years now, so I'm thinking probably.
Yeah, no, I'm actually just sitting in the car. My daughter's at her swimming lessons here in Williamsville, so it definitely feels like home here, and it's where my daughter was born, with where I got engaged to my wife, and it's a pretty special place for us.
Swimming, huh? Like that's our producer was a swimmer. Only sport for her?
Yeah. Yeah, she's only a year and a half, so we're just it's more of a life skill than anything right now.
Swimming lessons, that makes sense. She's not racing. She's not playing lacrosse. When she's not swimming or anything like that. not yet.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. I mean, the trade to Buffalo probably feels like, I mean, you're still such a young guy so long ago in your life. But it's a trade that was a big moment for Sabres fans, so much invested in Jack, and yourself and Alex Tuck still grinding here. That probably does feel like a long time ago, right? Do you still, maybe you don't think about it anymore, but can you tell me sort of what that day was like?
Yeah, I'm definitely a Buffalo Sabre now. I don't really think of myself as anything attached with the Golden Knights. But yeah, I mean, that was obviously I'm young. I've never been traded before. I'm just a type of guy that wants to play in the NHL, loves playing in the NHL. I don't care where it is. And, it was a new opportunity. A guy like Alex Tuck, who we're really close, obviously. It was special. And, we want to win in Buffalo and obviously prove that trade right. And I think this year is a good step to do that.
That's interesting, too. I mean, you might consider yourself close with all your teammates, but then the trade happens and there's one who's going with you. And so, he's a little older. He even was like a Sabres fan growing up, right, Alex? So maybe he was the right guy for you to have sort of team up on this in this move at the time.
Yeah, no doubt. Our wives are really close. I have kids the same age, so no, he's like an older brother to me. Guy I look up to a lot, and he's obviously a heck of a hockey player too, so that helps out.
Very good. Well, Peyton, I'm glad we've got to spend some time together. Good luck tomorrow and this year.
Beauty, thanks very much for having me. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Peyton Krebs of the Sabres, who was my daughter's favorite player. I might have wanted to mention that to him, but it was his number because she wears 19. So that was the thought that went into it.
That's really all the thoughts you need. That's fine. That works.
Of course, his daughter is very young. Like, what is she going to be in boxing? What am I thinking there? What is she going to be doing? What other sports does she participate in? Chess? I mean, he's 24. So what else is your daughter involved in? Settlers of Catan, maybe with her friends every weekend. Swimming, sure. Nothing wrong with that. Makes sense. Not baseball yet. Baseball's pretty soon. Baseball, soccer. I got the video. Did we all get the video of Jeremy's son scoring a goal? Very cool to see that. I mean, that's a young guy just starting out. Soccer shots, probably. Or no, that he's actually not. But still, like those programs, my kids did that. My wife coached a soccer team that my son played on, and you know how it is. Like the pictures, you just save them, you put them on the fridge, and you never really want to throw them out. So you just put the new picture on top of it. And then every once in a while, like a pile of pictures falls to the floor because you moved the magnet by a millimeter. And like, here's your whole like kid's life just splayed on the kitchen floor. So recently this happened, and there was the soccer team picture, and it's him and my wife, and it's two other kids. The team had 3 players. Like, the early days of sports. Far different now, where it's practices every night and every weekend for different teams, both kids, different countries. Like, it's just really, they're teenagers, and that's really what it is. But I like the soccer days. I like the baseball days too. Remember, maybe my daughter played first, not first base, but like played baseball first, and you have those T-ball games where you're only allowed to go to first base and you're never out. Oh, are we teaching the kids the right lessons? You can't throw anybody out in this? I'm sure I probably thought that. And then you get a couple ages later, a couple years later, you get the ground ball just in front of the mound, and everybody's excited because somebody hit the ball, and they end up scoring because the throw to first is wide, and then go to second, and they go to second, and the outfielder's picking his nose, and just go to third, and then the throw comes in, and it just sort of rolls into left field, and it's, a little league home run. You have those. What am I doing? What am I even talking about? Home runs. I got somewhere. So, Judge last night, Guerrero last night, and then Judge last night. I want the Blue Jays to win. It really came out last night as I'm watching them rack up a 6-1 lead. I am noisy. I'm alone watching this game. I mentioned it to my son. Want to see Guerrero? No. So I was really into it. But at 6-1, like I'm thinking of tweeting or just sharing in the moment with people. But my thought was they could still easily lose. Like, it's still too early in this game. I go to Twitter with the thought, like, maybe I'll want to say something. I go to Twitter, even Sal. Like, Yankee fans are like it's over. Sal didn't literally say it's over, but he's talking about how the Jays will do in the next round, which, maybe we'll find out. It's not over for them either. But, like, if you're a fan of the winning team with, like, my sports history or yours, you're never really sure. Like, you can't ever be that sure. So 6-1, and I had a couple of things to do. I'm washing dishes, and the game is on in the next room. I'm doing the dishes, and it's 6-3, and Judge is coming up. They might have walked Grisham or somebody. Like the Jays Bieber got himself in trouble. So 6-3, and they took the pitcher out. I don't even know. That's not the point. I'm in the kitchen. Judge is coming to bat. It's 6-3, and I'm a big wimp with this stuff. I turned it off. I don't want to see him blow it. It's the third inning. I don't want to see him blow it. I was actually doing other things. I would just turn the volume up when the Blue Jays were up because I didn't want to hear that crowd. I didn't want to hear that unless they were going to boo. I didn't want to hear that crowd. Just I'll listen to the game when the Blue Jays are up, and I will mute it when they're not. So now it's 6-3, and there's 2 on for Judge. I turn the game off, but I have the app open with like the graphics. I love that. I almost get everything I need out of sports these days from that in every sport. Just give me the play-by-play, and when a run is scored, they show the ball, the graphic, the ball, wherever the ball goes. That's good enough for me. I'm doing the dishes, and my attention that I'm paying to the Yankee game is only this. The phone is on the counter, and I'm working. And I look at my phone because I'm really interested in what's going to happen here. I look not enough to watch the game. I look at it and I see strike 1, strike 2. Knuckle curve, called strike. 100-mile-an-hour fastball, strike 2. All right. Well, and does Judge not have a bit of a reputation for coming up short in the playoffs too? All right, 0-2. This is good. And I look at my phone and it said the dreaded when it's not your team. In play runs. I have a T-shirt that says it. In play, and the S is in parentheses. You don't know how many runs. The drama. In play runs. On a pitch, I'm looking only at the graphic, on a pitch that looks like it could hit him. The pitch is a foot inside almost, it looks like on this thing. And runs, well, what's that going to be? There's no way this is a big one. This is going to be like somebody booted a grounder, like the second baseman did in the first, something like that. Nope. 3-run homer, and then I do tweet to say I am done with this game. I'm all bitter. I'm sorry, it's the third inning and it's 10 o'clock and I'm done. Really what I'm saying is the F word. That's really what I'm saying is really? It's 6-1, you got it, even though it's still so early in the game. And this is Aaron Judge, it's that pitch over the wall. Really? That just happened? Then, I sort of calmed down. I didn't watch any more of the game. I was really done with it. I would check in I'm in bed, 8-6, great. I made the right decision. But then, I wake up to this is the greatest swing I've ever seen. I got Goldschmidt saying it, people are glomming onto that. I'm okay, yeah. I mean, he's great. That's no issue, no argument. But then I started to wonder, do you have an all-time favorite home run? We'll see what happens in the series. If the Yankees lose the series, I doubt Yankee fans are going to be like, that's my all-time favorite home run because it's not big enough. We lost, ultimately. I asked Jeremy and Joe this question today. Do you have an all-time favorite home run? And they both said yes, and they said the same one. Maybe you know what it is. I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you what mine is. 803-0550. First, the update. This is Mike Schopp on WGR.
With the Bills playing on Monday night at Atlanta, the team does have off today. We'll have the first official practice and the first official injury report tomorrow afternoon, but we're still going to hear from Sal Capaccio. It's about a half hour at 5 p.m., so do stay tuned for that. Some other notes in the NFL. Kyler Murray not practicing today due to a foot. He is considered, though, day-to-day, while Lamar Jackson, he misses his fourth straight practice due to a hamstring. And the Bengals do make a change at quarterback. They made the trade official yesterday. They make the announcement today. Joe Flacco gets to start at quarterback against Green Bay. Good news on the Sabres front. Head coach Lindy Ruff says both defenseman Owen Power and Matthias Samuelsson are expected to play in tomorrow night's opener against the Rangers. And then we also had some major extensions in the NHL today. Las Vegas, they get it done with Jack Eichel, 8 years, an average annual value of $13.5 million. And then earlier this morning, Winnipeg, they got Kyle Connor done, 8 years as well, $12 million per year for him. And then in baseball, 4 games going on today. Mariners, the only one in action right now. They're up on the Tigers 3-0 in the 5th. Just after 5 o'clock, the Cubs have Milwaukee in town. At 7, Yankees, they're hosting Toronto. And then the night's going to finish up at 9, Phillies in LA versus the Dodgers. The teams that can advance tonight with a win, Seattle, Milwaukee, Toronto, and Los Angeles. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Two-strike pitch. Hits a drive down the line. If it's Ferenz's moment, it is! It's tied! George has arrived!
Yankees take Game 3, Game 4 tonight. Everybody plays today, except the Tigers, who are on the field. But whenever I look up, Seattle is batting, and it's an inning later, and Detroit has 0. I don't even know if Detroit has a hit or if they are just what is going on. Absolutely unable to score a run, it seems, the Tigers. But, I'm going to try to speak that into existence, too, with the Scooble World Series MVP ticket that I hold. If they do win this game, he'll pitch the next one. He's the best pitcher in the sport, and maybe I'm on my way, but I'm sort of watching this game, and I just never see them at bat. 3-0 Seattle in the 5th. Runner on, 1 out. Do you have a favorite home run ever? I don't mean like, if I may, like your kids or your own. I have a favorite home run that I hit, but I'm not going to do that to you. I get away with enough as it is around here. For me, so I said Jeremy and Joe had the same one when I asked them. And Bautista, the bat flip, is their favorite home run. I think Jeremy might have been at the game. So that works. My memory of that, and I loved that too. I mean, Toronto. My memory of that one is we were just signing off in here when he was at bat. And I'm like, see you tomorrow. Click. And then he hit the home run. Like just within a second of when we turned the mics off. And I think we had just been giving the update on where that game stood, Toronto, Texas. Turn the mic off. Got to go. Bat flip. So that's good. I'll give you mine in a second. Let's go to Michelle here. Hi, Michelle.
Hello.
Hi.
So my favorite home run of all time, actually, I watch every Yankees game. I'm a huge Yankees fan, was last night's Aaron Judge home run. And the reason being is it got the monkey off his back. I mean, everybody said he doesn't do anything in the postseason. Even though he's batting over a 500 in the postseason, they knocked, Rodon out of the game. Yesterday, I thought it was dismal. I thought they were going to be knocked out of the series. That was it. Yep. And he got up and, he tied that game. And, Jazz obviously got the winning home run afterwards. But that was clutch. So now I can call him Captain Clutch.
Do you think it will remain your favorite home run if they were, perish the thought, Michelle, but to lose the series? Would it still hold up?
Yeah, it would, because I am a huge Yankees fan, and honestly, He is the MVP this year in baseball, and it's been a black eye for him the last couple of years. He obviously doesn't have a series, so I think this was pivotal for him, for his career and his legacy, which I don't think people realize what they're watching in him. He is not just a great offensive ball player. He is dynamic out in the field as well. So I think this really seals the deal for what type of player he is, and nobody can go back now and say he doesn't do anything in the postseason.
Yeah, I guess
So,
you may be right. Thanks, Michelle. My feeling on that, I'm not a judge expert, but you're somebody who didn't come through in the playoffs until you did. Just give it enough time, especially for a guy this great. Not really big on the whole clutch thing, Bonds was this, right? Barry Bonds was the best player in the game, or one of them, and he would go to the playoffs and bomb, but then he didn't. one game against Atlanta that they needed to win, he hit a home run, and okay, well, I guess it's possible that you could actually hit a home run in the playoffs. I don't know why I think it wasn't, or I don't know why I thought it wasn't. For me, it really is I love the Bautista one, but it would be, the Bautista one, actually, let me say this first. That one, as cool as it was, turned into the nonsense. It was the bat flip, throwing the bat, and then the Rangers got all, whiny about it, and it took away from it. You don't have to think that, but I kind of do. Not much. It's still a legendary moment. I was a Mets kid, and in '86, when they beat Boston, the 2 home runs in Game 7, Ray Knight to give them the lead, and then Strawberry to pad it. I don't know which one I would say I liked more, because even though it was already that the Mets were ahead when Strawberry hit his, he was having a terrible series, and everybody was into that. Where is Darryl Strawberry? And he hits the home run right at the apple, and he takes an hour and a half to round the bases. I think that was pretty cool. And they needed that home run, it turned out. So those are my top 2, as a fan. And it would never be somebody breaking a record. That was all just uncool in the end. McGuire, Sosa, Bonds. It couldn't be those. And I'm not a Yankee fan, so it wouldn't be Judge or even Cal Raleigh. That would be when I would have been the happiest with the outcome of a game. It would be those Mets. Let's go to Matt next. Hi, Matt.
Hey, Mike. How you doing?
Good.
I have one in particular. I'm not a fan of the Cardinals, but a friend of mine from St. Louis got me into them. And he had me watching them in the 2011 World Series. And, of course, David Freese, Game 6.
Yep. Texas.
Against the poor Rangers. They're the brunt of the home run jokes, right? But, that was an incredible one. The Joe Buck call with it. And forced Game 7, and of course they won. But he also had a double in that game, didn't he, David Freese, earlier in the game?
It sounds right. I didn't watch it. I hate the Cardinals. I am such a baby, Matt. I couldn't watch the Yankees rally last night. I can't watch the Cardinals in the playoffs. I can't watch the Phillies. I don't know what my problem is. Maybe I should just, for as neutral as I have grown to be in sports through all my fantasy stuff, I cannot watch these baseball teams that I just never liked.
Understandable. I'm pretty neutral on most of the teams. I'm just a fan of baseball. But Boston sports, I sound like Bulldog, but I can't get on board with Boston. But shout out to the bullpen guys watching on YouTube, WGR feed. And that's all I had to say. This is David Freese, 2011.
Good choice. Thank you, Matt. Let's go to Mike next. Hi, Mike.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
Good.
Kirk Gibson's home run, I think it was in the World Series of '88 when he was hurt. He had the bum knee, and Tommy Lasorda decided he was going to put him in as a pinch hitter right at the end. Anybody watching that at the time thought it was just a terrible mistake, given how hampered Gibson was. But he gets up, and he just hits that electric home run. The place went wild. L.A. was going crazy. Everybody who was in Buffalo watched just couldn't believe what it took for that guy to make a miracle. So that, for me, happens to be just resonates. Yeah.
Love it. I was working that night at Channel 2.
Nice.
Yes, I was a high school student working as an intern at Channel 2 when that happened. And, like, I don't know what time that was, but it might have pushed the news back. It was a Saturday. And it might have pushed the news back to, like, after 11 o'clock, so you have to wait until the game is over, which I probably didn't like because I didn't drive a car. I needed my father to come get me, and I would have had to tell him that he was going to be late, and it's already 11:30 or something before I get out of there. But, yeah, that was definitely one for the ages. Here's Matt next. Hi, Matt.
Hey, how are you? Thanks
Good.
for taking my call.
You're welcome.
So I do love the Batista one. I love the build-up to that and everybody going crazy in the stands. That was really fun. But my favorite was a game I was at here in Buffalo when the Jays were playing the Orioles, and we were sitting right behind home plate with my dad and brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a grand slam, and then right after that, followed up by a home run, and that was just kind of really cool to be at and see. And again, it was the Jays, and being here right in Buffalo was really great.
Yeah, I'm glad that someone mentioned the games in Buffalo. I went to, I don't know, 7 or 8 of those games maybe, and I'm trying to think if I had like a moment. What I've got right now, because I loved that. I mean, I was just for the wrong reasons, I know, but what a lucky thing that we got the majors for a year and a half or whatever that ended up being. How cool was that? The moment I'm thinking of was a game against Texas, and I was there with my daughter and my friend and his daughter. We were sitting out in left field, and I think it was raining. And Jonah Heim, local product, got a hit for Texas, singled. And the crowd loved that. It was a Blue Jays crowd, but they loved that Jonah Heim got a hit in this game because he was pretty new on the scene. And I just remember looking at him, really feeling, I knew his dad and had talked to Jonah before, and just like how cool this would have been for him. I mean, I'm in the majors, I'm in the big leagues, and I got to play a game at home in Buffalo and have this moment with the crowd. And I was looking at him from way out by the foul pole in left, all the way across the diamond at first with Guerrero. Guerrero was the first baseman. And Guerrero might have patted him on the butt or something, and they were talking. And I just remember thinking, like, what are they talking about? What is this conversation right now between Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Jonah Heim? But that's I don't have a home run memory from those Jays games, but I loved that. Let's go to Jason next. Hi, Jason.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
Good.
So Bobby Mercer hit a home run either the day of or the day after Thurman Munson's funeral to tie a game against the Orioles, and then he won it in extra innings with a hit.
Mm-hmm. Like a Monday Night Baseball. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I think it might have been Monday night. They had all just come back from the funeral, or it had been the day before.
Yeah.
Mercer tied it in the 9th with a home run, or the 8th, and won it in extra innings with a hit.
Love it.
So that would be my favorite home run.
That's really good. Thanks, Jason. That's really good. A little bit, I vaguely remember Munson's death. Like, I don't know if I do, or it's just sort of knowing about it getting older. But yeah, that's familiar to me. We'll take a break. Sal coming up at 5. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. This is WGR. Just had a new favorite home run. Baez for the Tigers. They actually are playing in this game. It's 3-2, Seattle, and that would have given them the lead, but it was just foul. Instead, looks like a game-tying single, 3-3, Seattle and Detroit. Detroit used to be one of these teams I hated, too. I hated like half the teams because of the Blue Jays, like 87. But now I've got Scooble to win the World Series MVP, so we got to have it. Let's go, you know how it is. We go to Kenny next. Hi, Kenny.
Hey, how are you?
All right.
All right, so I'm glad you said hate, because we're going to switch it to the least favorite, or my most hated home run. So my brother was a long-time minor leaguer. He gets called up by the Brewers. And at that time, I was working at a pizzeria. I told my boss, I said, hey, my brother just got called up. You got to get the baseball package. I got to watch these games.
Yeah.
So he does. And one day he comes in against the Nationals, bases loaded, and Alfonso Soriano's up, gives up a grand slam.
Oh, no.
So, to this day, my by far least favorite home run.
I guess. How is your brother? Is he a good sport about it? I mean, it's part of the,
he
part of
loves
the game.
it. I mean, he got to the pinnacle of his career regardless of that game. I mean, he got a couple cups of coffee once with the Braves, and then a few games with the Brewers. But we talk about it still and laugh about it.
Nice. Well, it's still very cool for him to have made it. So thanks for sharing that. Let's go to Steve next. Hi, Steve.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What's up?
I just called my favorite one was the Joe Carter home run in Toronto in '93.
Oh, yeah.
My wife and I were at the game. It was crazy. It was one of the craziest sports moments of my life.
You were there. Yeah.
We was there, yeah.
Great.
Yeah, so it's super exciting.
Sure. I'm sure it was.
Never ever forget that. That was dynamite. It was so crazy afterwards. The atmosphere was the best thing I've seen.
Love
I'm
it.
a Yankees fan, too, but I mean, it was just a great moment.
World Series winning walk-off homer is a World Series walk-off homer. So, yeah, good for you. Nice. Peter's next. Hi, Peter.
Hey, good afternoon, Mike. Thanks for the time.
Sure.
I was going to go with the 93 Game 6, but I also had one that sticks out in my mind that I think many people forget, even as Yankees fans. Game 4 in Atlanta in 96, the Leyritz 3-run homer to tie it at 6 in the 8th.
Yes. Wohlers.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So
Good.
that took them from there.
So you are a Yankees fan?
I am a Yankees fan.
I liked them that year. I think what it is for me, and, this might not be relatable, I don't know. What it is for me is when you become a little bit of an underdog, I can listen to you, and I think that team was just starting.
Yeah.
And the Braves were kind of a tired act, so I was happy that they won. Jimmy Key to win it. I was happy that the Yanks won that year. I don't know.
Yeah, if only Donnie Baseball was still there with them.
1 year too late, right?
Yeah, I believe so. And that strike year just took it out too. So.
Yeah, and thanks, Peter. He's on the '95 team that loses to Seattle, I think, but then not in '96. Yeah, I was thinking about this when the Yankees played Boston in the first round, and I was with Boston. And to me, like, Boston and the Yankees are pretty much the same thing. Like, they're both big shots. They're teams I root against. But Boston kind of reloaded, and I don't know if that's even true, that they were younger, or there was something about them that gave off more of an underdog scent than the Yankees pretty much ever do. So plus the games are in New York, sort of root against the crowd of the team that I don't like. Plus, this is not a Yankees complaint, because they probably did the same thing when the games were in Toronto. I just didn't watch those games. But whatever it is, whether it's Fox or all of them now, this used to be like Fox would get criticized for sort of inventing this. They've got to show you the fans between like every pitch. And there was one guy last night, and I watched 3 innings of this game, and there was one guy last night that they showed twice. It might have not been the same guy, but to me it was, where it's like a close pitch, and the call doesn't go the Yankees' way. It wasn't even wrong. And they show a fan standing up with his arms out. Like, what? So I got an umpire making a correct call, but I got to have, Fox show me a fan in a Yankee jersey with his arms out like, what? Why do we need that? Who does that work for? Like, the call wasn't even a mistake. And yet I got this guy, with his jersey like unbuttoned. Now, because I'm annoyed at the fact that they're even doing it, so I'm going to notice like everything about this guy in 3 seconds that annoys me. He probably had a name on the back of his jersey. That would be the Yankee fan that they would show with his arms up. What? It would be like Jeter 2 or something on the back, which is never a jersey that Jeter ever wore. He never wore a jersey with his name on it. None of them did. Anyway, so, yeah, I don't need that. Do you need that? Who ordered that? Who ordered fan shots between every pitch? And how did they need 2 hours to play 3 innings last night, by the way? How was that even possible? 8:00 game. I got into 6:00 Yankee games or 6:30 if there were some of those. I was sort of ready for that. 8? I'm too old for that. Sal coming. Speaking of Yankee fans, Sal Capaccio is one. He'll join me next. This is Mike Schopp. Bulldog is off today. You're listening to WGR.
With the Bills playing on Monday night down in Atlanta, the practice schedule's gotten a little screwed up. It's going to be a little bit later, which means the first official practice for the Bills will not be until tomorrow. We'll also get our first injury report as well tomorrow, though. Still going to hear from our own Sal Capaccio. Stay tuned. He joins the show next. Around the rest of the NFL, Bengals made the trade yesterday, and today they did announce Joe Flacco is going to get the start at quarterback against Green Bay. And funny enough, Flacco actually beat Green Bay earlier this year with Cleveland. Then some other quarterback news. In terms of injuries, Kyler Murray not practicing today due to a foot issue. He is considered, though, day-to-day, while Lamar Jackson, he misses his fourth straight practice as he deals with a hamstring injury. Good injury news, though, for the Sabres. Head coach Lindy Ruff says both defensemen Owen Power and Matthias Samuelsson are expected to play in tomorrow night's opener against the Rangers. And we had some major extensions in the NHL today. Las Vegas, they get it done with Jack Eichel, 8 years and an average annual value of $13.5 million. And then the day got underway with Winnipeg signing Kyle Connor to an 8-year, $12 million per year extension. 4 more games tonight in the NHL. Toronto hosts Montreal at 7. 7:30, the Bruins are in Washington versus the Capitals. Then 2 games at 10, Calgary at Edmonton. And then the Kings, they start their year with a back-to-back. They are traveling to Las Vegas to take on the Golden Knights. While in baseball, Mariners-Tigers all tied at 3 in the 6th. Starting here in just a few minutes, Cubs have Milwaukee in town. Then at 7, Yankees host Toronto, and the night's going to wrap up then with Phillies in L.A. versus the Dodgers. That game will get going just after 9. And the 4 teams that can advance tonight with a win, Seattle, Milwaukee, Toronto, and Los Angeles. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Good mention in an email from Dan for one of the best home runs, or a favorite home run, is one that Bartolo Colon hit, which I think I saw, like Mets Padres, maybe that was. I mean, Colon hitting a home run that's pretty good. Judge last night, even Guerrero's in the first inning was boss, right? I mean, it's 2-0, and he's coming off those games in Toronto, just like no doubter in the first. But Jays couldn't hold on. With me now on the Wester Hotline, surely happy about all this, is Sal Capaccio. Sal, I was asking before, like, about the Judge homer, if people had an all-time favorite home run. One woman called and said it was that last night. That was it. So I don't know if you do, but that ranks pretty good. I mean, that brought them back to life here.
Boy, you put me on the spot here. That is definitely one of them, but I think about Boone in 03.
Yeah.
I think maybe Jeter off of is against Arizona, against the Diamondbacks.
Kim is the pitcher,
Kim,
right?
Young Kim, right? Is that it? Who it was?
I think so.
I think so, too. I think maybe that could be the one that I would go to. I don't know. Like, that was pretty cool. Like, just, it's Jeter, right? It's Mr. Clutch, and he does it in that moment. You're like, you got to be kidding me.
How about Jeffrey Mayer, Sal, too, against Baltimore?
Yeah.
Technically, it's a home run.
Yes. The home run that maybe shouldn't have been, right? For
right,
sure.
Definitely.
I think did Jeter lead off with one against the Mets in the Subway Series? I think he did one as well. Like that. Remember that as well. So there's been a few along the way for sure.
I guess. That's right. Well, wild game, wild series, Sal. Like I mentioned earlier how I went to Twitter feeling all pumped up when the Jays were up 6-1 and like just wanted to get a taste of it. And I saw a tweet from you and from other people on the Yankees, basically not exactly writing them off, but you had a tweet about like what the Jays could do in future rounds. And I don't know, how close were you to thinking it was over?
Well, before that tweet, I basically did tweet it was over. Never been so happy to possibly be on Old Takes Exposed, because they could have done it. Because I said, my tweet was basically, I would say good series Blue Jays, but it certainly hasn't been a good series.
No, right.
Because it's been boring, because they've just stomped on the Yankees. That's not good baseball. Like, congratulations to them. And that's when someone responded, well, they're just doing this to get beaten by a better team. And then the tweet you saw was, no, they can beat anybody with this offense. Like, they're incredible. And then literally an inning later is when everything started to happen. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And now they're in a position where, look, I mean, yes, you have to win because it's your season on the line, but you got to win tonight. I mean, this is a very winnable game with Schlittler on the mound and them going with a bullpen game. And I love the points that were made, and I agreed with this, and I thought this myself, but I'm so glad Jeter said this, and then A-Rod said it last night on the postgame, and they're so right. The Yankees kind of got right a little bit in Game 2 towards the end. Like, they started to hit the ball, and that did a lot for them. Even though it was a blowout, they started to hit the ball, and I think that actually did a lot for them going into Game 3.
Varland, I think, is the name of the Toronto pitcher who was mixed up in the middle of last night's game that's starting tonight. So they're on the ropes a little bit in their bullpen. We'll see. Every game is different. Sal Capaccio on the Wester hotline. Okay, so no Bills today with the Monday night game. It's pushed back until tomorrow. How do you feel about this game with Atlanta or just things in general? I was talking earlier about how it's very similar to last year where they've lost one now and the things that maybe bugged you about them are maybe now okay to bring up because they actually have lost a game. You don't sound like so much of a crazy person if you're complaining about this or that with the Bills. Do you feel that way?
I was listening earlier when you were talking about this. I really liked it, and I think that you're spot on. To me, like, it just feels like it's the same kind of thing over the last few years because, honestly, I don't know what it all matters right now if I say, well, I'm concerned about the secondary. Well, I'm concerned about the receivers because at the end of the day, I think they're still in the same spot at the end of the year, and then what does it matter? We don't know, right? I think that's where I am because the only difference, and Mike, I've said this for months and months, and I think you're in the same boat, which is the only thing left for this team is to get the 1 seed. Like, are any of those things we're talking about today holding them back from getting the 1 seed? I don't think so. So what do I do with it? I'm not really sure, to be quite honest with you. Like, I think that's right, like to say, well, the secondary's got this issue. Well, they don't have a field stretcher. We've said this for the last few years, and while they don't have the 1 seed, they've made it to the AFC Championship game, and they've come 3 points away from getting to a Super Bowl. And now they might have a better chance because I think they're still going to get the 1 seed. So I think in general, I kind of feel just like the same I have. I need to see action, though. Are they? What I think about is, do they feel like it is so there for them this year? It is so there compared to any other year that they're going to make some sort of move to say, we're making sure this doesn't hurt us. We're going to go out and get something and do something. And that's kind of where I go with it.
And that's just, even itself is, of course, something that there's no guarantee in that, right? I mean, it looks good and it makes sense to do it. And they, I think, too, should be willing to part with a draft pick like they did last year to be better at a position. But it still is, it's still just a gamble and somewhat of a guess. Would that be the secondary for you? As we get closer to the trade deadline, unless things change, would that be area one where you think maybe they should go get somebody?
It would be. I think it's, for me, area one. I also think for them it could possibly be area one. And I say it for a couple reasons. Number one, yes, there's been some struggles there. Like, you look at last week and even talking about, even Sean McDermott bringing up the stat, like no pass breakups except for a defensive end. Like, those are things that matter. They're not getting enough play on the ball from the secondary. I also just look at numbers, Mike. I mean, they have right now numbers meaning roster-wise and names and where they are with health. Tre'Davious White, whether they believe he can be legitimate, starting corner for them for the rest of the year to get them to where they want to go is a good question. But then behind him, what do you have? Because right now, Dorian Strong, who he had rotated with, is on IR, and there's serious questions about his neck. Where does that lead? Is he done for the year? We don't know. Max Hairston, he's not just going to walk in the door tomorrow and make some difference. Like, the expectations, I think, are way too high on him to come in and just make this impact right away if people are expecting that. He's got to practice. He's got to get back in. He's missed so much time. Like, I just think it's a little off the charts there to think that. Jamarcus Ingram, Dane Jackson, like, what are you looking at there? It's not just the names, it's the numbers, because you have the two rookies that you were relying on to be contributors who aren't even going to be ready, basically. And then even at safety, you could definitely have a conversation about, do you have enough there? But I just know how they operate at safety enough. That's such a spot that means so much to them to have somebody that knows what they're doing, that unless it's a guy they really believe in to come in and be able to kind of stabilize a little bit, that knows the system, the old DeMarlo thing. I'm not suggesting DeMarlo specifically, but you get my point.
Yeah.
Someone like that. They do have Jordan Hancock, who they're still working. So I go a little away from safety and more to corner, and I do think that's the number one spot.
It's the kind of thing, and this hasn't really happened to the Bills yet. If they're really down bad in the secondary, then they could end up having to compensate in other ways on defense. And, the run defense has been hit pretty hard, too, so far this year. There's only so much you can do, I guess, Sal, but they have deservedly gotten credit for how good they've been against the pass. And maybe now, it was really just Diggs in this game that did any kind of damage, but there was damage. Maybe this is a point in time when we have to really wonder whether they can hold up.
Yeah, I do think, though, Mike, that the guys they've missed will matter. I think that Ed Oliver will matter to this defense. It's not that he's going to suddenly come in and, put up unbelievable numbers and sacks and things like that. But, I look what happened last week, which is you have the New England Patriots. At some point in that game, during the second half, the Patriots made a great adjustment. What they did was they put two backs on the field at the same time and said, go block the two Bills defensive ends along with the tackles. They double-teamed them. They double-teamed both defensive ends with a tackle and a running back because they knew that the Bills didn't have an interior pass rusher. You get at Oliver, that changes.
Yeah.
Now Joey Bosa is a little more free. Now Greg Rousseau is a little more free. I do think those things matter to the passing game as well. And honestly, Michael Hoyt was very good in preseason and camp. I think they've had a plan for him to kind of utilize him in different ways, much like Lorenzo Alexander was a few years ago, and how when he had a really good year and you just kind of didn't know what he was going to do on play to play, and that'll allow him to move around. So again, not that it's going to they're not going to go from necessarily the 30th ranked run defense to the number 5. I'm not saying that. But I do think those guys matter to the overall picture, and the D-line matters to the passing game as much as it does to the running game.
Sal Capaccio with me, Mike Schopp. He's on the Wester Hotline. Bulldog is off today. So are you thinking about Atlanta much yet? It's not a team that the Bills have much history with, even though it doesn't even matter going way back. Even recently, it's one game under Josh Allen. McDermott has 2. There was a cool win in Atlanta when he was a rookie coach when they were a pretty big underdog. But, that's still even itself a long time ago. I don't know. I don't really have, much of a thought, built on the Falcons yet. There is talent, though. We know that. Skill positions, edge rushers, they have some talent.
They have a lot of talent on offense. Bijan Robinson is awesome.
Elite.
And Drake London is great. And Kyle Pitts can be. Sometimes it's a little hot and cold, right, as you know. But I think the deal with them, though, is having a second-year quarterback who is very up and down at times. And this is not a super mobile guy, right? This is not a guy that is going to get out and really hurt you in space. Now, I say that, and look what happened with Tua, right? He did have that a couple times. I think Sean McDermott and the Bills' defensive staff has done a really good job with young quarterbacks generally. I know Drake May had a nice day last week. I get that. Nice night. But they've generally done a good job, and I think that, they'll be, planning things to make sure that he can't hurt them and then concentrate on the run as much as possible. So no doubt about it. I don't know what to do with Atlanta because I look at some of their scores. I look at some of their games. They haven't played the most world-beating of quarterbacks even last week. Did Jaden Daniels play last week? I can't remember for sure. He
did not play against Atlanta. He did
That's
not
right.
play
Marcus
against
Mariota
Atlanta.
did.
Yeah.
So I don't know really what to do with them. They got shut out by the Panthers, 30-0. I'm like, what happened? Now the stats wouldn't kind of lend yourself to that as much. If you look at the box score, but I'm like, how do you lose to the Carolina Panthers 30-0? But they have a nice game they played against the Bucs. They lost at the end. The Bucs are a good team. 23-20. The Bucs beat them. I just kind of don't know what to do with them. Their defensive numbers are awesome. They are allowing 135 yards a game against the pass. That's it. They're allowing 57 or 58% completion percentage. I just don't know how real that is based on who they're playing. But hey, same thing with the Bills. You can only play who's on your schedule. There's no shame in that. Whoever's in front of you, you got to shut down, and they've done that on defense.
How about the Bills' offense on Sunday night, Sal? They scored 20 points. That they're used to scoring more than that. There were some good things, but was there something about what they were not able to do that's troubling?
hold on to the ball. I mean, yeah.
Just that, okay.
I mean, no, honestly, Mike, like, I don't go – they didn't run the ball very well. I also want to give credit to the opponent. That's a really tough run defense. They actually did a lot better against the Patriots than most teams do against the Patriots, so I'm not concerned about that. I think they actually had a better day than most teams do against that front, even though it was tough on them. And to me, that's encouraging because even though you're going against a Falcon, and now the Falcons' defense, numbers-wise, is not great against the run. I think this is a James Cook game. Like, they're going to feed him, and they're going to try and beat them with the run game and say, we don't have to even worry about, we're going to try and throw against you guys. We're going to beat you in the run game. So I think that's the formula there. They didn't hold on to the ball. That's number one. They threw the ball away once. Josh Allen was a bad pass. He said it wasn't a bad decision. It was more on the pass, and I agree with that. Because if you look at the play, like, there's a spot to fit that ball in, but he threw it a little bit behind. Was it Shakir, maybe? The intended target. I can't remember for sure. I guess, Mike, the one thing that I would say is maybe separation, and people have talked about it. But again, you look at some of the film, there was some separation at times. Josh doesn't find Curtis Samuel on the one play that people have seen. But that seems like it's maybe the one thing that's like, they didn't do it. Now, what did Joe Brady say? Joe Brady said, that's the best pair of corners we're going to face all year. So you know how he feels about it, at least with who they faced.
Did we talk about this on Monday? I don't know. We're going into sort of this stuff, right? What went wrong for the Bills in the game. How do you feel about New England holding up? The schedule is pretty much cake, almost the entire way. Are they good enough to like really take advantage of that and make this a race?
I'll give you a hot take. You ready?
So ready.
I think the Saints beat the Patriots this weekend.
All right, so that's a no.
I could be wildly wrong, and sure, you could just go back and say, okay, Sal was an idiot, and that's possible. I think do I think they're a good enough team to make the playoffs? Yes, but the Patriots, by design, and we saw this on Sunday night, want to play tight games. They do not leave themselves very little. They do not leave themselves much margin for error. By simply the way they want to play, it took 3 turnovers for them. 3 against the Bills. They won 3-1 on the Bills.
Yep.
For them to win on a last-second field goal. They lost a game where they turned the ball over 5 times. I mean, they just don't give themselves a lot of margin for error, and I think that's a dangerous way to live. What did Sean McDermott say? We can take clues on how, Sean McDermott, people say he doesn't say anything. If you listen, he tells you a lot, actually. He said after the game, he said it multiple times. You could tell he's frustrated by it. He said, we played the game they wanted us to play. What he's telling you is, we don't want to get in that muck-it-up battle. As Chris Brown said, they like to muck it up, the Patriots. I love that. He said, but that's to me what he's saying. Like, we don't want to play that muck-it-up game. We're too talented for that. Don't get into that stupid stuff, because that's what happens. You make a mistake here, make their mistake there. That's how they take advantage of you. It's the old left-wing lock of the New Jersey Devils, honestly. That's what it is, Mike. That's how the Patriots want to play. And you can win, but, man, you make a few mistakes and you lose.
I think this makes a lot of sense. I keep thinking about their schedule and how they'll be favored in so many of these games, maybe unless, they have something change about their roster or something. But that doesn't mean you're going to win them all. Like if they go into every game as a 4-point favorite, you're not going to beat everybody. So, and they'll have to come close to that probably to keep up with the Bills. They'll have to get to, an 11 or 12 win pace, I would think, to make this interesting. And they will play the Bills again late in the season. Mm-hmm. But I think that's right. I think regardless of philosophy, and this does, these are correlated, but, we're talking about the trade deadline. If New England had one more weapon, and Diggs is still older, and who knows how well he holds up here off that injury, looked great Sunday. But if they had one more piece to go with him, like a game breaker type, everybody wants that, I guess. That would change it for me, because I don't know. I don't know if they have enough firepower to overcome like the close game point.
Agreed. And I mean, already we have a bit of a sample on this. Now, granted, it's the first few weeks of the season, and I always say, you can't really judge as much, but they lost to the Raiders 20-13 because they made a couple mistakes, and the Raiders played a nice game where they didn't make as many mistakes. And then they beat the Dolphins by 6 points because they had, a kick return for a touchdown? The Dolphins outplayed them in that game statistically. That's just they're going to play games exactly like they played against the Bills all year. And if the team like the Bills turns the ball over 3 times, they're going to win. If they don't, they're probably going to lose, and that's what it's going to come down to.
We might have talked about the Colts for a minute Monday, or no, it was you and I texted about the Colts yesterday, and like the possibility of a playoff game with Indianapolis. How legit are they for you?
Not as legit. I think they do run the ball very well, no doubt. And they have Jonathan Taylor, who's really good. I think at some point, they'll start to get through. Now, I think, let me look at their schedule, because I was looking at it the other day, actually.
It's interesting.
They have some opportunity. Yeah, I mean, they have some teams. It's really after their bye. Well, it's a little tougher, though. Yeah, they get the Chargers, the Steelers, the Falcons. But after their bye, they go Chiefs, Texans, Jags, Seahawks, 49ers, Jags. So, yeah, the thing about their schedule that stuck out to me, they've played one division game so far. That's the Titans.
Yeah.
They play one more division game, the Titans. And then they have the Texans and Jags both twice each in the last 6 weeks of the year. Right? Like, we know the way AFC South is. Like, that's really tough. You're going to battle back and forth. I liked your question. I thought about it. And yeah, 100% I would take right now. You say it doesn't matter what happens, what seed you are. You go Bills at Colts right now in the AFC Championship. I'm absolutely taking that. When you asked it to Bulldog and he said, well, that means I don't get the 1 seed. But that's not the question, right? And I know where he's coming from. If you ask me, would you rather have the 1 seed or be guaranteed that? I still think I would be guaranteed that because it doesn't matter. I'm already there, right? But it does matter getting that week off, no doubt. But, man, I think that would be a dream scenario for the Bills to go. If you could guarantee right now they go to Indianapolis to face Daniel Jones and the Colts in an AFC Championship game in a controlled environment versus any other spot on the board, I think that's a win. I think it's a win. I think it's a win for the Bills, but I think that's positive for me.
Yeah, I mean, Chris isn't here to defend his position today, but imagine saying no to that offer. Just like, all right, I'm here already. I'm in this game.
What's a better outcome? The better outcome would be at home against. And you're going to choose a bunch of teams, but you're not going to choose a bunch of teams.
Yeah, the Colts.
Right.
No, I could play them at home. I'd rather have that. And you make an interesting point about the weather, too. Yeah. Like, that could be a neutralizer. Sure.
100%. Like, you just don't know what's going to happen in weather. And, we'll see that again on Monday night. Now, last year, the Bills went to Houston. They played in a dome and played poorly, very poorly, right? It didn't go very well for them. And we've seen, I think, against the Chargers, it didn't go very well when they played there last year, a couple years ago, whatever it was for Josh Allen. So it doesn't have to be that it's, oh my God, it's perfect like that. But I just think that when you get in that environment, like anything can happen. And yes, I respect the fact that they would be at home. It is tough. It is tough mentally for teams. Like if you gave me a choice, this would be a tough one. I think I would take this over at Indy. I would take Chargers at Bills because I don't think the Chargers are coming to Buffalo in January and winning in the AFC Championship game. Right? I think that's a tough deal for them. But I think for most teams, you just guarantee me AFC Championship, Bills at Colts. I think I'm taking that.
Bloom may be off the rose there in L.A. after their start, 2 straight losses. Okay, well, enjoy the baseball tonight, Sal. We'll talk again tomorrow.
You got it, buddy. Thank you.
Sal Capaccio with us. His appearances on WGR brought to you by New York's only outlet liquor, your place to buy a case. What's your outlet? Coming up next, the Falcons. I'm saying to Sal, I don't really have a position here yet on the Falcons. And Sal's kind of saying somewhat the same thing, thinking about some of their players, but not yet into the matchups, and we have until Monday. However, Joe Patrick, he can help us out. 92.9 The Fan in Atlanta. We'll get a little bit of a better feel maybe for the Bills' Week 6 opponent Monday night here on WGR. This is Mike Schopp. We'll be right back. The Bills and Falcons have they played any important games ever? The Falcons might be the least relevant team to Bills history than any other.
It's a full season to play together and get better.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about a lot of that. And I don't really want to blame the Bills for it because they are down horses, if you will. And Hairston is a big one. I worry about what Hairston is a good enough bet. I mean, he was not really a reach or anything. It's a late first-round pick, so you're not getting, you think, like an all-time great necessarily. But again, like I mentioned before to someone else, Trey White worked out very well as this. So we'll see. But it's just been so long. Like, he's still not able to even have the practice window opened. So now I'm going to be to week 8. I mean, I guess I shouldn't. Should I rule out that he plays in this game? I feel like I want to. But if he doesn't, then it's week 8 before there's any chance of it. And that's kind of like the halfway point of the season. And how much has he had in terms of reps? Wouldn't you need time to sort of get your body right after an injury like this? I just hope that it isn't a lost year. Because if it's a lost year for Hairston, it could be a lost year for them. I mean, yes, I don't think Trey White was brought in to start every week. What they do, and I think he is an example of this, is they bring in safe assets before the draft, around the draft, and have them in place so that if the draft doesn't fall a certain way, they're not, standing there naked at the position. Like you've seen them do that at running back, and here's a corner. Like it makes sense. It seems like it's a good idea, but that isn't to say like this player should be a weekly starter. Like we don't really want that. What they wanted was for Hairston to do that, and maybe he'll get there. I mean, someday he probably will. But fans too, and I don't think this is bad. It makes sense. Have Elam like fresh in their minds, and maybe you're sort of like it's easy to ignore, to forget about Hairston. We'll see what happens. I mean, it was a big loss to lose him like they did, and now they're 5 games in. This will be 6. The bye week is next. And you're almost to November. You're almost to the halfway point of the season without really getting him to any point, getting him anywhere. So maybe a lot rides on him. Let's go to Josh next. Hi, Josh.
Hey, Schopp. Happy hump day.
Hello.
A couple of moves they didn't make, and one they did. I'm scratching my head.
Okay.
I think that we've needed help at safety going back 2 years to having DeMar Hamlin on the team. Jabril Peppers was out there basically for free. Would have been a very shrewd move that Bean didn't have to pay anything besides vet minimum. C.J. Gardner-Johnson was out there. I mean, those guys were good enough for both the Steelers and the Ravens to pick them up. And then we re-signed Balin Spector. Like, it just – that move particularly speaks to we're very – just looking down the barrel and don't want to look across the league. Like it's the old adage, you just have to know McDermott's defense and have played in it for 5 years to possibly step on the field for us. And those guys, we're having issues at linebacker too. They're both drop-down safeties. They could help in the run game, help in the nickel. Taron Johnson hasn't been amazing. I just think they would have been amazing moves, and it more just speaks to like rigidity and not wanting to step out to make that move that we're going to need to get over the hump. Especially on D, we need the help right now.
Yeah, you might be right. I think there's of course, there's a certain allure to the name brands, and you're naming guys that a lot of football fans can name that don't have to be really much of value anymore. Rasul Douglas gave the Bills half a season, and then last year, not as much, and he was a known commodity, and he did okay. They did make that move, and they got something out of it, but it was short-lived. And even Amari Cooper could be thought of this way. These are trade deadline moves, but that's the same thing, basically, like sign these guys along the way. If you want to say that the points the caller made about the system and familiarity and that stuff. A lot of people say it, and I'm not going to argue with you. Like I don't know that's wrong, but it's also not right to say they haven't done anything. Like Mike Edwards was somebody that they brought in who had some pedigree, and he couldn't get on the field for them. Which you could, I guess, maybe say the same thing there, but he hasn't been successful elsewhere. So. Yeah, maybe the truth is in the middle here. Like they could be more open to certain types when it comes to this. But I feel like the Bills have made quite an effort to beef up, to spend, defensively especially, to get to the top. And they could still do it. It's interesting. Like I sort of soft-pedaled into this.
Will be tomorrow afternoon. We just spoke with Sal Capaccio on that. If you did miss it, you can listen back on the Odyssey app or on our website, WGR550.com. Bengals made the trade yesterday, and today they've announced that Joe Flacco is going to start at quarterback against Green Bay. Flacco actually beat Green Bay already earlier this year with Cleveland, and then some QB injury news. Kyler Murray not practicing today due to a foot issue. He is considered day-to-day, while Lamar Jackson, he misses his 4th straight practice as he deals with a hamstring injury. Good news for the Sabres. Head coach Lindy Ruff says both defensemen Owen Power and Matthias Samuelsson are expected to play in tomorrow night's opener against the Rangers. We also had some extension news today in the NHL. Las Vegas, they get a deal done with Jack Eichel. 8 years, an average annual value of $13.5 million. And they got started in Winnipeg. They signed Kyle Connor, 8 years as well. $12 million per year for him. And then in baseball, Tigers up 7-3 on the Mariners in the 6th. Brewers, Cubs, they are tied at 1 apiece in the 1st, and then 2 other games coming up later this afternoon. At 7, the Yankees host Toronto, and the night's going to wrap up with Phillies in L.A. versus the Dodgers. That game will get going just after 9 o'clock. And the teams that can advance today with a win, Seattle, Milwaukee, Toronto, and Los Angeles. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Whatever I said about the Tigers worked. 8-3. Like, they're just pounding home runs now. Some of these home runs are like the dinkiest home runs, but they'll take it. No excuses. Whatever it is in the box score. 8-3, that's out of nowhere. They were just being totally shut down in this game. Mike Schopp here. Bulldog is off today. Let's click on the Atlanta Falcons, who the Bills will visit on Monday night. Not a team that there's a lot of history with around here, but should be an interesting game. Joe Patrick with me from 92.9 The Fan in Atlanta. Hi, Joe.
How's it going, Mike?
Good. Thank you for your time today. What are these Falcons so far? I was just talking with our Sal Capaccio about them a little bit, and he's like, if you look at their scores, they might be hard to figure out.
Yeah, it's kind of been a mixed bag for the team so far through 4 games, and I guess it makes sense that they're 2-2 because of it. It's kind of one of the interesting things about it is that it just has not been the team we really expected coming into the season. Basically, the blueprint for the Falcons coming into the season was you got to have a top 10 offense behind Michael Penix, who the team had a lot of confidence in, and then you hope to get about a league average defense out of some of these young rookies and some of these new pieces under a new defensive coordinator, Jeff Ulbrich. And you figure that was going to be the kind of formula that they needed in order to mount a challenge in the NFC South. And what we've seen so far is an offense that has really sputtered and finally got on track really for the first time, I think, truly in week 4 against the Commanders. But it's the defense that I think is really giving people down here a lot of confidence in what this team can potentially be this season, given how good they've been through these opening 4 games, just creating pressure, which has been a struggle for this franchise for decades, honestly, Mike. And, so that's been encouraging to see. But again, I think a lot of this comes down to the offense and whether they're going to be able to continue what they did in week 4 or whether it's going to be more of a reversion back to what they were in more, I would say, weeks 1 through 3, truly, which is an offense that just has been really kind of flummoxed by these kind of too high safety looks that those teams were giving them. The Commanders did not really do that, and the team was able to take advantage.
Yeah, as Sal mentioned, I mentioned Sal already, first in the league on defense, net yards per pass attempt, 4.7. So Atlanta is hitting it right there. The Bills, Joe, have been kind of a puzzle, too, on defense. They went into Sunday night's game giving up 6 yards per carry, but then in the game against New England, they were stronger against the run, but they got lit up pretty much by Stephon Diggs in the game. So they're kind of I think we'd say we're unsure about their quality when it comes to defense. I saw the Falcons play the Sunday night game in Minnesota in week 2, and my partner is not here today to talk about this, but he has just this running thing where he's like never watched Bijan Robinson. And I'm a big fantasy player. Like, I've watched a lot of Bijan Robinson, and I thought his talent was fully on display in that game. Algier gets the touchdown late, but still, Robinson seems like the real thing.
He is absolutely incredible in every sense of the word. And I would start just by saying, like, he is as nice of a guy off the field talking to him in person in the locker room as he is talented of a football player that we've seen between the lines on Sundays. But, yeah, speaking of that, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, what can this guy not do, really, is the question. I mean, right now, Mike, Bijan Robinson leads the Falcons in both rushing yards and receiving yards. He's the team's leading receiver and rusher so far this season. And, you know, exemplified by literally the third play of the Falcons season, he takes a little check down, goes 50 yards per touchdown. And that's just kind of the electrifying ability that he has. And he's also, not only is he able to kind of beat you and, you know, with the long speed on some of those catches, but he can also just absolutely make you miss in a phone booth. And, you know, James Cook is kind of similar with the jump cuts and those types of things. But, I mean, I think Bijan and Cook, honestly, I think are like two of the best in the NFL at those little cuts that allow them to, you know, get those added yards that you need. And he had another spectacular rushing touchdown against the Commanders in Week 4 where he showed off that ability to jump cut. And so, yeah, the Falcons are definitely going to be relying on him for sure. And I think Michael Penix, too. You know, Michael Penix, like I said earlier, a quarterback that the organization has a lot of confidence in, and I think you could see on the tape last year why they have that confidence. But, you know, when you see the struggles that he had in these first 3 games, I think it really shines the importance on getting the running game going and making sure defenses are having to be keyed in at all times on Bijan Robinson that will allow Michael Penix to flourish. And then I think the other aspect to Bijan that's different, I think, than a lot of backs is that they are going back to what they did with him, what Arthur Smith really did with him in 2023, where, you know, Arthur Smith, when he was drafted, he described him, he's not a running back, he's a home run hitter. And they wanted to kind of use him as a bit of a gadget all over the field. And then last year, they wanted to kind of go back to the nuts and bolts of just being a running back. But what we saw, especially in Week 4, was them start to utilize him a lot more as a receiver out, you know, split out wide in some interesting sets where they might come out in base personnel, but the tight end is like kind of riding shotgun, sidecar in the shotgun next to Michael Penix. So doing some interesting things where they can move around guys like Bijan Robinson and Kyle Pitts, who's also kind of maneuverable in that sense with regards to like being able to use him differently in formations.
Right. Yeah, that was super annoying 2 years ago when they kept giving Tyler Algier the ball. And part of that was because he wasn't bad. Like, he's not bad. So
right.
He was efficient. And, again, fantasy-wise, Robinson, really, the ceiling was kind of capped. But the receiving is the dream when it comes to that. And he's putting up those numbers. Joe Patrick, 92.9, The Fan in Atlanta. My guest, I'm Mike Schopp. Bulldog is off today. So what about the timing of the bye week here for the Falcons, Joe? I mean, Week 5, as early as it gets, ends up being 15 days between their last game and this game against Buffalo. You're talking about how many different looks they might be able, or they've shown already. I guess this is a great spot for them to be able to add to that.
Yeah, you know, I think the bye week is like in the immediate term here against, you know, a quality team like Buffalo and then with San Francisco coming up. I do think it helps them in that regard. But I think when you look at the course of the entire season and just like looking at the schedule in totality for the Falcons, I think if you were to ask some of the Falcons brass in their training facility up there in Flowery Branch, Georgia, they may not have been too pleased with the way that things shook out, because ultimately, I know this is in regards to the Monday night game, but it's like you have the bye week and then you're playing on Monday night, so you just kind of have like an extra day on top of your bye week, and then that creates a shorter week going for you the next week where you then also have to travel to the West Coast. So there's some logistical kind of issues that this team is going to have to deal with, and those might become more problematic down the road when at that point you're playing, you know, 6-7 consecutive weeks heading down the stretch of the season. I do think that it helps them, though, in the immediate term. I mean, they had A.J. Terrell, their best cornerback by far, and I think one of the most underrated corners in the NFL. He's been out with a hamstring injury since that Week 2 game against the Minnesota Vikings. They're hoping to get him back, and that bye week will have obviously given them an extra week of rest to allow him to get healthy again. So in some respects, it will help them get some guys back and be fresh for this one, but they're going to have their hands full later on in the season dealing with the schedule, because it's going to get, you know, very long. Obviously, I don't think anybody needs kind of any explanation about how just brutal this game is, and they're going to have to be on top of kind of their body prep, honestly, as they go forward in the season. I know that's a lot of the guys are talking about that kind of being top of mind as they come back out of this bye week, or this early bye week. And I don't know what to do with myself in an October bye week. It's bizarre.
Yeah, I know. It's too early. It's too early. But if you didn't mention it, you may have. I'm sorry if I missed it, but you also have a trip to Berlin in there.
Yeah, that's right. So they have to travel to the West Coast twice, plus going to Berlin. So yeah, they've got a lot of travel.
Right, and the bye week is over, so teams have the choice, I think, whether they want their bye after the trip international, and I guess the Falcons chose no, or is that not?
Well,
not correct?
I could actually offer some clarity there, because that's what I thought as well. And now it turns out that there are so many international games that the NFL is basically not able to accommodate all the requests. So now it is officially you request the bye week after or around the international game. And typically they are given if they can be accommodated, but for whatever reason that was not able to be done this year for the Falcons.
Yeah, thank you for that. When the Bills went to London a couple of years ago, I think that then they had the choice and they chose not to take the bye. They came home and played the Giants the next week and were a huge favorite and barely won. They got out of that game barely. So I don't know. It's always easier in hindsight to see what you should have done. Darnell Mooney for this game, Joe. What do you think?
He's questionable. There's been reporting from some of the national reporters saying that they expect him to get back, that the bye week was going to allow him to get back. I would think that will be the case, that he will kind of be on the field. But I'll tell you, Mike, he's just not been anywhere near the player that he was last year. He's coming off of a shoulder injury that he literally injured himself diving for a football on the first day of training camp when they were not in pads. And the rust, I think, has really shown since he's come back. I think they try to get him back as soon as possible because they really do need him. He is a core part of that wide receiver group. But you could just see that it's not quite there yet. I don't know if the connection is totally there with Penix. Obviously, there's some more adjustments that you might have to have as a receiver with a left-handed quarterback as well, and they didn't have a ton of reps last year. In fact, it's worth noting that Michael Penix was not taking any reps with any of these starting receivers until literally that week that he was named the starting quarterback, and it would have been that Wednesday that he started taking those reps with those guys. Now he's also thrown with them over the course of the off season and such, but Darnell Mooney, the Falcons will obviously like to have him out there and certainly presents a problem, but I don't know if he will be operating at his maximum capacity, even if he is able to play.
All right, very good, Joe. Bills and Falcons next Monday night. Thanks for your time and insight.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. At JAPatrick200 on Twitter for more on the Falcons. Yeah, the Mooney, it makes sense. Like, he got hurt so early, and they were a little bit, I don't know, maybe I missed it, but I feel like there was some confusion about how long he was going to miss. A guy can get hurt like that and just never get right. The season starts, the pressure builds. It feels like he's somebody that really opens up even more for London and even Pitts in that offense. So he might be important on Monday. Bulldog is off today. This is Mike Schopp at 803-0550. You're listening to WGR.
waiting since so long. All the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night. Said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. Oh, you seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over. It's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. Roller coaster. I want.
Big baseball night. All 4 series. I won't make it to Phillies-Dodgers, I'm pretty sure. Although I do want to see the Phillies at Dodger Stadium in those light blues. That is what Bulldog was talking about when he saw the grid for the playoffs last week. And just like, if you're a certain age, Reds, Dodgers, and Phillies in this case will take you back. The stadium's part of that too. It's got to be. It helps a lot if it's in the original stadium or the one we watch them play in when we're talking, you're getting nostalgic like this. Like I said I might be a little bit, too much when it comes to this stuff, but loved, even though I didn't get to see the game, only highlights, the Buccaneers and the Seahawks last weekend in their original jerseys. I just wanted the game to be on grass, or I guess in the Kingdome, but not in Seattle Stadium. Takes a little bit away. Minor point. So baseball tonight, and for me, waivers, fantasy waivers, right? Wednesday. Some leagues are Tuesday nights, so that's already over. But for my big ones, it's almost all Wednesdays. And trying to figure out who matters. The one tonight that'll be the hardest, I think, to figure out if you're into fantasy is the Chargers with their running backs. They've lost Omarion Hampton now for 4 weeks. They have Hassan Haskins and Kamani Vidal. And probably, unless it's happened already this week in your league, those 2 guys would both be on waivers. Just don't know how they're going to cut it with LA. My guess is probably Haskins starts and gets goal line. That's what I'm seeing guessed most often. And then Vidal would be passing downs. They're playing in Miami, and that's a great matchup. So, if you play FanDuel, DFS, that kind of stuff, would think that, even though I really don't, those low-budget guys that are in line for big roles, those are 2 guys who that could be true of. Just don't know which one it is. So that's tricky. There are, whether you want to look at this through a fantasy lens or not, there are some very tough backfields to predict right now. The Bills are not one of them, and really neither are the Falcons. The Bills have become more predictable this year in their backfield. Cook is playing more, so they're not one of these teams. But Pittsburgh is, because of how well Kenneth Gainwell played in their last game. This is 2 weeks ago against Minnesota. He had a great day. So what happens to Jaylen Warren? I want to think that they'll use Gainwell maybe more than they had because he was so good. And that hurts Warren, of course, right? I mean, fantasy-wise, he was a pretty good starting option, and that might change. Carolina is this. Carolina loses Chuba Hubbard, gets a huge day out of Rico Dowdle, 200 yards. Like, as Sigmund Bloom put it to me, they're not putting that genie back in the bottle. I mean, a game like that, Hubbard might miss again this week, which would make things easier. So if he doesn't, though, he's the starter. How much better is Dowdle than Hubbard? I mean, that could go different ways. Then you have the Chargers, who I mentioned, the Eagles tomorrow night. So I don't have anything on Barkley today. I think I'd have heard it if he's expected to miss. If Barkley misses tomorrow night, then you got a real dilemma. And Barkley's in every lineup, right? So if you lose him and you want to tap into Philadelphia home against the Giants, it could be like Dowdle was, where you could get a monster game. It's just who's going to get the call. They have Will Shipley, somebody that might be on waivers. You could look to him. He's, in my opinion, probably the best of the others in Philadelphia. You have A.J. Dillon there now, formerly of Green Bay. Maybe it's A.J. Dillon. You have Audric Estime there as well. He might be practice squad. He was with Denver. These are the ones that really are hard to figure out, and you might just want to play it safe and, play a worse matchup, but somebody that you feel more confident will get the lion's share of the work. But the game Dowdle had for Carolina, the game Gainwell had for Pittsburgh, I think makes both of those situations that were really clear-cut before kind of tricky. We'll see about the Bengals this week at Green Bay with Joe Flacco. That was announced that he would start that game. You got to be hopeful that the way Flacco plays is going to not save Jamar Chase or T. Higgins, but help. Because, Chase was the 101 fantasy pick, and you were stuck with Browning. Like that, you were just not getting anywhere near that kind of production. So is Joe Flacco the answer? The elixir in that one? Maybe not. But I think it's at least an upgrade. So tomorrow night, Giants, Eagles in the Thursday nighter. Quick break here, then we'll talk some more. 803-0550 is the number. I'm Mike Schopp here on WGR.
With no game until Monday, the Bills are off again this afternoon, though they will get back to work tomorrow. We'll get the first official injury report and the first official practice. We also spoke to Sal Capaccio earlier in the show. If you missed that, you can find that on the Odyssey app or on our website, WGR550.com. Some other notes in the NFL. Bengals made the trade yesterday, and today they announced Joe Flacco is going to start at quarterback against Green Bay. Flacco actually beat Green Bay earlier this year when he was with Cleveland. And then some QB injury news. Kyler Murray not practicing today due to a foot issue. He is considered, though, day-to-day, while Lamar Jackson, he misses his fourth straight practice with a hamstring injury. Good news today for the Sabres. Head coach Lindy Ruff says both defenseman Owen Power and Matthias Samuelsson are expected to play tomorrow night's opener against the Rangers. Then we got some big extensions in the NHL this afternoon. Las Vegas gets it done with Jack Eichel, 8 years, an average annual value of $13.5 million, while the day actually got underway in Winnipeg as they signed Kyle Connor, 8 years, $12 million per year for him. And then in baseball, 2 games going on right now. Tigers really opened it up against the Mariners, 9-3 lead for Detroit in the 9th. Cubs lead 4-1 in Milwaukee. That game is in the second inning. And then we've got 2 other games this afternoon at 7. Yankees host Toronto, and then the night's going to finish up with the Phillies in LA versus the Dodgers. That game just after 9 o'clock. Seattle, Milwaukee, Toronto, and LA are the teams that can advance today with a win. And then Sports Talk on WGR is presented by Paramount Plus. You can't count on much, but you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. Watch your local NFL game live every Sunday all season long. Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today. It's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp.
We were having a very serious conversation about mayonnaise here.
And the Bulldog.
And don't even talk to me about weed.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
I'm glad I thought of this, but I have to say that I'm not sure that this is right. But I was just wondering, it's another football day Sunday where the Bills are not on the main slate, as they say. So Monday night. One of 2 Monday night games. This is going to be ESPN, Chris Fowler, Louis Riddick, Dan Orlovsky. That's us, Monday night, 7:15. And then Chicago, Washington is Buck and Aikman. It's happened maybe a couple times before. That game I went to last year, Jacksonville, was one of those as well. So the day is open, and according to the trusty map at 506sports.com, the games will get early on CBS, Cleveland at Pittsburgh. Early on Fox, Dallas at Carolina. I've heard better. Then late on CBS will be San Francisco, Tampa Bay. It might be cool. Looks like there are only 3 late games Sunday. The others, Cincinnati at Green Bay is late. And also Tennessee at Las Vegas is late. So that's always annoying, right? When so many of the games are played at the same time. You get 3, 4, or 4:25 games on Sunday. I think that that's what this map is telling me. And why I say that I don't know this is right, it's not to say that the map isn't right, but I think it's possible that the local affiliates will pick from different games, and it may or may not be reflected here. So that's what nationally they're telling us we're getting. Cleveland at Pittsburgh, not Chargers-Dolphins. I mean, I think I'm more interested in Chargers-Dolphins than Cleveland at Pittsburgh, but I'm just one guy. New England-New Orleans is also a 1 o'clock game that isn't coming to us on CBS on Sunday. So there's that. Bills. Sunday night is Detroit-Kansas City. That's hot. Detroit-Kansas City Sunday night. There's also Sunday morning, again, with Denver and the Jets. So we're talking about New England a lot. They get the win here. The Bills played Miami. They also played the Jets, but that was week 2. The Jets were coming off, I would say, an impressive game in week 1 against Pittsburgh. Then the Bills show up, and it's not competitive. I mean, what a huge letdown that would be for the Jets and their fans. Not that we, are sympathetic, but here's Buffalo, encouraging opener. Justin Fields put up big numbers, and then this game is just like not even interesting at all. And now they're 0-5. And I think, this is always, you got to be clarified, be careful with this, because it's not that the players would be the authors, but I think the tank should be in the window there for the Jets. The Jets and the Browns. Two teams that, A, are, probably bad, headed for bad records, and B, they don't have their quarterback in either spot. I mean, Dylan Gabriel might be okay, but the ceiling is just not that high. Shedeur Sanders is maybe not even as high. At least the Browns seem to think that that's the case. So if Cleveland got to the number 1 pick, everybody would put them on a quarterback. Like everybody would. Unlike Cincinnati, right? So here's Cincinnati at 2-3 now, and their last 3 games have been blowout losses. They were in an interesting spot because they don't need the number 1 pick of the draft. They have Joe Burrow, and he'll maybe even be back this year. What kind of season was or is Cincinnati headed for? 6 wins? Maybe 7? Maybe 5? I don't know. Somewhere in there. Now they get Flacco, and that maybe makes their chances a little better. But man, Baltimore being down so bad and Pittsburgh being so average, what bad timing for the Bengals. If last year's Bengals were this year and they had the same bad defense, but they had Joe Burrow on the field, they'd be the favorite, I think. If Burrow isn't hurt, I think they're the favorite, even maybe at 2-3. And they're almost that anyway in the betting markets. I mean, it's Baltimore, but it's just really because they were such a heavy favorite to begin with, and they don't want to bump up the price too high on the Ravens because then you'll maybe bet it. So there's a little bit of that involved. Still, if the Bengals had Burrow, I think they're the favorite there, but they don't. And so were they going? Well, we know the answer now, but before they make the Flacco trade, were they just gonna throw the season? What's the point? It's so early, or it was, and they won those first 2 games, and you've got what's happening around them. Man, that is tough timing for Cincinnati. I doubt that Flacco can just sort of save that, but he kind of did that for the Browns. With Cooper there 2 years ago, he kind of did that. He didn't do it for Indianapolis, and his numbers apparently this year are just really bad. Whatever people are looking at when they say that. So I doubt he can save them, but I give the Bengals credit for doing something. Because if they didn't, they would just have Chase and Higgins run cardio 60 times a game for no real reason. Just they were nowhere. And their line is bad, and that could just be doom for Flacco anyway. So, I mean, if we were talking about Cincinnati all the time, I would have complimented them. I would have wanted this. At least give me some hope in a year where the Ravens have all these problems, and I'm just going to sit here and watch Aaron Rodgers get handed the AFC North. I just would hate that so much. So Cleveland, Pittsburgh this week. The Bengals are in Green Bay. I mean, they'll be a pretty big underdog, I'm sure. Not that really matters to me because I went out in Survivor. My last one went out with the Chiefs on Monday night. I did the thing that you hate too, that you hate doing. And I knew I was setting myself up for this. I changed the pick 3 times. I never was on Buffalo Sunday night against the Patriots. I never liked that. So they were not one of my picks. But I remember I was on the Chargers, and they ended up losing also against Washington. And so I got out of that. And then I went to the Lions. But I just had a strange feeling. I mean, I can talk myself into any upset. I'm bad at Survivor. Sam's going to come on Friday. Sam is always saying how bad he is at Survivor. I can talk myself into any possible outcome happening in an NFL game. And that's not good when you're trying to just pick one winner. Mike, just pick one winner. Detroit, -10 at Jake Browning. I talked myself out of that. And, they barely covered, but they won pretty easily. And also, in my defense, the Lions might be so good that you're going to want to use them later. There's also a Thanksgiving element in this one pool. Like you need somebody who's playing on Thanksgiving. Well, maybe the Chiefs are too. I don't know. But I got to Kansas City, and Sam said a thing that I bought into, which was, I said it in here, citing him. You're going to bet Jacksonville for whatever, you're going to talk yourself into Jacksonville, then you're going to turn on the game and hear the music, and they're going to show Patrick Mahomes warming up, and you're going to be like, I am the biggest idiot out there. I'm the biggest idiot alive betting Jacksonville to win this game. But they did. 99-yard pick six helps a little bit, but that's the NFL. So I'm out. I don't need to know, except for picks in here on Friday, what Green Bay is favored by or anything like that. Bills, I saw 4.5. I saw 3.5 Monday and then 4.5 yesterday. So a little bit of love for them in their game against Atlanta on Monday night. And as I said, that's one of 2 Monday night games coming up this week. Earlier today, Peyton Krebs joined me to talk about the Sabres opener. The game is sold out tomorrow night. I was glad to hear that. Get some good energy in there as they start a new season. I talked to Krebs about it all earlier. I'll have that for you next here on WGR.